wind, a little cloud cover out here today. It's pretty nice out here at the Silver Rock Ranch. A little warmer, but still nice. You know, it's not 100 degrees, so tinkering around here, doing some things around here. Kevin moved his wood stove over there. Kevin, we'll talk about getting the rest of that floor put in and whatnot. But anyways, thought I'd come in here and talk some preparedness. I always like preparedness is something that, you know, it's a mentality, it's a mindset. It's not something you just get up in the truck and go buy everything from the store. Batch of ice. Give me 1 second here. We're making some ice out here in the desert. Nice cold water. Off-grid ice. Making that on there. A little more water in there. So it's going to cool off a little sooner today. I got some cloud cover. Not rain or anything, but let's open that window up there. Oh, yeah. A little bit going today, so. Yeah, you interested in some land? You know, is it how much worse does it got to get in this state of union for you to try to get out of these big cities and get out into the country where you can raise your own food and have enough place where you can grow? Well, I have a 5-acre parcel online right now. It's a 5-acre parcel, and it's in Silverlake, Oregon. It's got power poles at the front of the property, 2 power poles, and I want $29,000 for that property. So I have another property out here that I bought on a land sale that I'm still purchasing for about 5 or 6 years that I could walk somebody into if they were serious about homesteading and getting off the grid. And you know, people want out of the system. I know a lot of people do, but no, most people don't. It's just an idea, but I don't know how much worse that things need to get. You know, it's not the end of the world, but things sure are getting awful expensive. You know, food's garbage at the store, so just having any food you can raise your own, and you could do that where you're at. You can just grow some food in your windowsill, grow some herbs, some, you know, chives or something, you know, some parsley, some cilantro, something, tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket, anything, grow something, you know, try to make yourself have a little bit better food and become a little more self-sufficient. That's the way to go. So off the grid, I've been off the grid for 6 years. So been, you know, well, I mean, producing my own power. I've been out here for 10, been off the grid for many years. I lived off the grid in Hawaii and was off the grid. And anyways, been here for 10 years and started producing my own power about 5 or 6 years ago. So that's the way to go. Then you don't have a power bill. You become empowered when you're the power company, you know, and then you don't have rolling brownouts. Like people go, oh crap, you know, when the lights go out in the city, they almost crap their pants, you know. So in the country, the power goes out every once in a while, but what aren't nurses? What all the countries with the highest standard of living have populations? Yeah, I rebuke religion, so maybe that's a good thing. So yeah, if you're religious, trying to finance another property from you that we talked about, the Trump's stopping to change the credit system. It's supposed to make medical debt not hurt. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, well, I don't want to go there, Marissa. I don't need to go there. Stay where you're going. don't do anything in panic, but you need to. People need to get where they're at now. Go now. I mean, this is crazy. You got the pedo, or the politicians, the documents came up missing. The whole EpiPen Island files and all the whole list and the whole thing. Isn't that ironic? uh, but but no, you got to make the first jump, and I know it's hard for people to do it. So I'm not trying to push anybody to do things. There's a lot of places they don't make it very easy to go live without a bunch of regulation. So you got to find a place where it's conducive to somewhere where they can't mess with you. So you can, if you just want to live in a tent, you can do that. Not too many places that let you do that and without messing with you. So you got to find a place where it's conducive. People, there's like out here, this is the poorest county. There's a reason I moved out here is because people come out here to be left alone. There's enough heaves and, it's not flat out here. It was under 500 feet in the ocean. So there's lots of, ups and downs, and there is a lot of flat spots out here, but it's not like that. So you can be tucked behind what I call like a dune or something like that, and nobody sees you, and drive in and out and come to town once every 2-3 months. People don't even can be seen for years out here, just exist. And that's honestly the problem with this community is there's not much community because most people just want to be left alone. So it's hard, other than the farmers' wives and stuff they have. And it can be done. I mean, there are things you can do here, plenty of things, I'm sure, to be social. And just like go down to what I call the Chev Mart. It's a different guy. It's a Sinclair now, but just sit down with some of the locals and have pizza and hang out and order a burger and spend money in some of the local places. And there's always, but there's the different people who do all the same things they do at little towns, like ladies that do cross stitching or embroidery or whatever. And but it's country town. So but it's a town where a man can make ends meet, because it's a farm town. So there is work out here, but most people come out here and they don't want to work. They're retired. They just want to build their little spread and be left alone. So that's cool, but not much community in that. But whatever. Don't remember, if you don't mess with anybody out here and you're far enough out of the little city town area, because it's not much to do when you get out here. They have some problems up in town with but it's like any other town. Same group of young or whatever people doing the same crap, but it's gotten better the last couple of years. Some of the locals got involved and started saying, well, we're going to take care of this ourselves out here since you won't take care of nothing. And they cleaned up some stuff out here real quick. So I've been working on it for years too. I think that's why Father sent me to this community, because you don't take a dump in my backyard. So, but anyways, what a crazy time where it is to be in a city around all this violence, and yeah, no, there's like I said, you could do that here. There is a dirt track out here, and what you could do is I had that rabbit tracks, all set up, and I had bought all the quads and everything, but then the COVID hit, and then I just, it is what it is, I just switched plans. I knew things were changing pretty quickly, so it's okay. It's actually, people have been coming out here since the COVID, and they just keep coming out here more and more and more and more because of the dunes, and they have side-by-sides and all that. So it can be done again. And hopefully I'm making some progress here. Like I said, I was able to take a loan today on the flatbed, and so I don't really actually have to sell it, but I'm about 2,000 short. So I'm in the home stretch here. Like I said, the precious metals will come or go. I don't care how much. If they go to millions of dollars, it is what it is. I'd rather use the money to put it towards finding out what's going on with Elijah, so, and I'll file the civil lawsuits after this, and I won't struggle after this. I know Father will take care of this. I've been very patient, and 14, almost going on 15 months is a long time to try to let the law do what it's supposed to do. So sometimes you got to buck up. In this case, I'm going to have to buck up more precious metals. I already lost 40, and now this is everything I earned in those 14, 15 months since I got out of jail, because I didn't have any. It's enough to get myself an attorney, and the ministry's paid off, and the other land's paid off. Even though I've been going, kind of quarter speed here because I haven't even doing it half cocked, I'm still getting things done out here because I don't just sit around and do nothing. I can't do that. I'm not that guy. I have to do something. So I take time to rest, but not much time. But yeah, I'll be able to find out where he's at and move forward. So, and then there's so many things that could be done. This valley is it's like a blank canvas ready to be painted. You can do whatever you want out here. You could just do whatever you want out here. There's so much that could be done. It's unbelievable. I'd love to find somebody out here who's a little more serious about food, like I'm a foodie or whatever. Most people eat 3 meals a day to stay alive. Some of us here are just to eat. So I'm food oriented. Remember, that's what the whole ministry is about, eventually being organic and tithing food. I need bodies here. You don't need to buy no land. Just come out here. What are you waiting on? Come out here. There's a place. There's plenty. Build something. Get a trailer. Get a nice fifth wheel. Get something. You can easily do it out here. It could be done. That's what I'm saying. Most people just got to make that leap. Leap of faith, if you will. But Kevin did it. I'm glad he's here. Kevin's he loves the land here. It's quiet and there's no neighbors, and there's times that really, like right now, the wind's blowing. There's no way he could hear me if he was over at his place. Just even standing over there, he wouldn't be able to hear me. It's just far enough away. So, what a blessing it is to have Kevin here. But I wish I had 3 or 4 or 5 other people here. I always am daydreaming about that, right? People coming out here. I've been doing this daydream for 10 years. Never bought this land for me. So, giving it to the ministry seems like the right and righteous thing to do, so it can serve after I'm gone, and maybe can serve for generations. If people come out here, have kids, they can take the reins, if you will, later. And, so what a blessing, like I said, hopefully we get over this hump pretty quick here. And it's been a long time, and I don't know where my son or daughter is at. Maybe I'll find out, hopefully. Again, this attorney has one of the better investigators in the state, and I already did my own investigation, remember, and located them. So, and I was right where they were at. So we'll see what goes on with that. It's nice to actually feel like something's happening after 14 months of nothing happening. It sure has been a long haul, a long ride. So everything will work out. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Father's will be done, and thy kingdom come. We have a ways, I'm sure, until the 7th trump. So that's my favorite part, is thy kingdom come. That's after I die. So I'm super looking forward to after death, putting up some afterlife insurance, not for me. Oh yeah, for me, not for my son, not for anybody in this world, but for, like, well, my brothers and sisters in the narrow way. But I know they're not going to be there standing with me with Father in Shiloh when he judges all flesh. So nope. Nobody's going to be there to hold your hand. So you got to put up some kind of insurance for that. I mean, there's a million kinds of insurance on this rock, but I think most people forget the most important insurance is after this life, But it's not insurance, but it's faith. You get insurance by preparing. He said, have your extra oil. So have your lamps trimmed, so you don't want to just use up everything you have, right? And be girded in my service. That's like, putting legs on faith. It's an action word. Believing in me. Believe is not a thought in your head. You can't believe in Jesus, or you can't believe in Bigfoot, or you can't believe in aliens. None of those things exist. So, well, Christ, the Hamashiach, the translated name, you know how I go with trans in here. Pastor's going to start talking about transgender Jesus. The Jesus with 3 genders, beast, man, and woman. The Baphomet pecker Jesus. So, but anyways, we're supposed to stay in the word. He is the word. So careful about adding words. So taking words away, and that's the problem. So with, the people that are fooled by their own will, and by definition is not in them. No truth they lack. They lack truth because they can't define what they're saying. They're translators. Remember, they go after a trans god, Baphomet, Baal and the Grove. Baal is sun worship. Their god is the sun. Well, they pray to Saturn and try to slow the sun because they thought the sun was dying. That's Saturnalia festival. So Christmas, whatever you want to call it. Don't matter. It's all the same. Yule wheel worship, feast of the Saturnalia, or the feast of the Yule. Remember originally. So they have their sacrament of the Mass. The Mass is the eating of human flesh, and we're not supposed to eat human flesh as cannibalism or drink blood. And so that's what they do. Blood, crackers and grape juice. Remember, eat my body, drink my blood. So Catholicism, here we are. So we got to be prepared for this. I mean, you got to be prepared, spiritually prepared before all things, correct? You know what I'm saying? Oh, look at this. My chat sucks. You guys are in here. Why do they do this? Well, I knew I checked my chat. I'm like, somebody else is in this room. I felt, thanks for coming in. EMS for life. So, well, sometimes you got to start out from scratch. Be kind of starting over from scratch again here too, because remember, I lost all my savings in my retirement, and now I have to give up all my savings in retirement to get an attorney because they didn't apply any, and I don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just have enough to get the attorney, but well, I'm a couple thousand short, but it is what it is. I'll see. That's if it goes to trial. And again, I was talking with Kevin. I can't believe the rate he's giving me. He went through the files and he's seen all the money I've already put up in this and told him what I've already lost. So I think he understands that I've taken a huge hit over this last couple of years, this is going to wipe out. And now this ain't retirement. This would be enough to retire in another country, though, for about 5 years, 10 years for what I have right now. Probably more because, I'm better at saving, and not just blowing money for no reason. And I have a very low cost. I'm a minimalist. So I need a farm. I need farming things. I buy animals and concrete and blocks and things like that, tin and tools and just things that are, I'm a farmer. So it's part of what I do. So that's why I built Silver Rock Ranch out here. That's part of the ministry now. So the ministry has the ability to have the animal husbandry out here. So like I said, people make a lot of excuses why they can't do things, but there's people who go out and just grow tomatoes in their backyard and, or in a bucket, like I said, in a little plot of land because they don't have anywhere else, and they just do it, because they're doing whatever they can to get it. I've seen some, again, been going through some of these Homestead. It's kind of inspiring, some of these platforms from these people. There's a lot of people who want to do it, but then again, there's a lot of people who are trying to do it, and because they don't even have the ability to do it, they in a larger setting, they're doing it in a small setting. They're literally renting out their neighbor's next door yard because they don't use it. Like, hey, can I rent out your backyard? I'll put a gate here and I'm going to, I'll give you, and, and they're doing it. They're not making there's nothing getting in their way. And that's awesome. I should have a huge underground garden out here by now, but I just can't get the last, myself to get, enough with this case motivated and feel like the work's more important to do right now for them. We're here at the ministry and get in here and share this word while I have the time, with my brothers and sisters in the narrow way. So I'd rather do that, than worry about, again, eventually I'm sure I will find my way down to Ecuador. And if that's a thing, and we'll continue to grow, food down there. It's all about the food. So we'll watch it. Dogs coming through. Go ahead, Tango. Go ahead, Big. So, but again, homesteading something, it's not for everybody. It's a lifestyle. And I actually really like the video that Nate put out from Canadian Prepper, that, although it's rewarding, it's a lot of work and it's a daily regiment and things like that. And it's hard to neglect things, especially when you have animals and stuff that depend on you, and when you're growing garden food and watering and things like that. So It's not just some people kind of get they do their little, and that's fine. But the time that you could be spending working for the man, working for yourself, you could have so much more, if you're just willing to start, from the ground up. But most people are afraid of that. They need a steady paycheck. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we can find him. Maybe he's still out there. I don't know, but I can't get any. Panama. Yeah, well, in this case, I don't think Panama is going to be far enough south. And I might be here. So it's Panama is as good as here to me. So you got to be on the other side of that canal. And you're not, it's just because you're on the other side of the canal doesn't mean that, but what's going to go on from the Panama Canal to the new Russian border in Alaska is how they're going to do this. I'm pretty sure I've watched this, how they've done this, and I don't get it always right, every detail, but I got a good, pretty, NAFTA and the, all this stuff that they've done through the years with Clinton and even back with Reagan and Carter. This is long. They're long in the tooth building a lot of these highways and byways and things that they've let a lot of the other infrastructure crumble, but they're putting in some newer, things. People don't, they miss some of the things, and that's fine. I know people got jobs, work, kids, girlfriends, animals, all kinds of things. And most people don't have the time to look at it, but there is some things that are going on. But that's a key point if you know what I'm saying about that Panama Canal and that cutoff right there. So I do think eventually that, and I hope I'm wrong, because I hope that Mexico can build the wall and keep these stinky, pesky Americanos out there from trying to come get all their silver out of the silver. One of the purest silver mines on this rock, a very rare, a straight up silver mine is very, Peru. There's others, but there's not very many. We have, I'm invested in a company here in the Tonopah district in Nevada that has a silver, basically exclusive, but there's nobody who produces silver like, puts the silver out like Mexico. So I think if we go tech, Elon Musk, future, and we're going tech, whether people like it or not, I do think they'll have ability, even if the sun goes out, bam, knocks everything out. That's when they'll bring in the tech. That's what they'll use to bring in the tech, bring in the new tech. And they'll get rid of this whole, carbon, petro oil, system, and they'll let this system that's been held back for now, we had perpetual motion, electrogravitics, antigravitics, ether technology in the 1800s, and I'm just saying we didn't have it that long ago, and then it was held back from us, but it's been around for thousands, if not millions of years in my eyes. I don't think there's nothing new under the sun, like King Solomon said. This is just a repeat, and they like to wipe out history every time they recreate one of these cycles. That's why you started seeing them destroying all the relics, like even when they were over there with ISIS destroying the Ark of Jonah and the Arch of Triumph and all these biblical scriptural old relics that lead to scripture. They don't want people to know these things, so they can create a new history, and people just bite on it. As Time Magazine's Man of the Year 2 years in a row. They put him in office, just like Obama and Trump. They do the same thing. Two cheeks to the same hole. Remember, I keep telling people this, they just don't get it, but that's okay, because they do their whatever. Think they can vote for their own enslavement, and for their own overlord, and think they're going to change the electoral college, and they ain't electing anybody. It's a selection. So, yeah, so well, like I said, you see what I'm saying? See, that's a lead up right there. See what I'm saying? Bam, that brings the U.S. citizen all the way down to that border. See? I don't mean to do these things, Marissa. I don't. See how that works now already? I already told you that's where we're going to cut off. So they're going to bam, bam to that border, and now Russia up there, and that's all going to become the child that is consumed by the dragon. This whole area will become a completely different system. The North America, or whatever, and it'll include, like I said, it'll include the northern Canada will become part of this whole region. Do you see what I'm saying? See how it all just leads up to this? I just see it. It's from the Panama border to the Alaskan border. This is all going to be one. There'll be regions, but there will be no more. Whatever. There's things changing. They're bringing down the old system already, and people just don't see it. So I don't even try to convince anybody anymore because it's already being collapsed. That's what they brought in Trump to do. Collapse the system to bring in the new system. You'd have to be just a complete idiot not to see that. But no, they're hanging on to the old system. I'm like, you guys are freaking idiots. You don't have any idea what they're doing right in front of your face. You just, these people are like triple maskers or something. Remember? Double maskers, 5 jabs. I don't know what's wrong with them. Too much tap water, too much fluoridation, too much spraying them. Maybe too much nano affects them different. Nano affects everybody differently. So the sun, solar radiation, poor diets, people make poor decisions when they're not healthy and spiritually not healthy. Then they're just, they become sick with the word and pornea. Remember? Idolatria. They're just auto-driven. So people are just thinking about their own will, not just helping a brother out, sister, and going and be charitable. And so they fall for this. Well, this person's going to take care of it for me. Like I just need, put it all on somebody else, like going to some church and brokering out your, didn't church mean circus, right? So, but, and well, look it up in Rome, but yeah, they're bred in circus. Crackers and grape juice, baby. But anyways, throw something at you. You learn something new every day, right? But yeah, so there's different. Like I said, they're going to bring in the tech. Just be ready for tech. You're not going to run from this tech. As soon as they unleash these robots, it's on. And that's what's going to happen. Why do they have warehouses of these things? What they're preparing for is the underground cities that most people are very unaware that even exist. And they've had underground, the Hopi talk about the ant people because they got under the ground because of the sun cycle. The magnetosphere failed before in history. This has happened before. This is just a cycle. It's the super cycle. Remember, we're in a 12,000 year super cycle, the sixth extinction cycle. We're in it already. We've been in it now for what? Going on 5 years. So extinction doesn't mean everything dies, but we can be one of these people that makes it. Are you going to be a cucumber or a pineapple or a butterfly? Maybe be a little fruitcake or something. You won't even try, huh? Go do your little fruitcake Jesus or whatever ritual somewhere else, You don't have to do anything. Sit down and not put loins girded in my service. He said, purify yourself as, he purified himself. So these people don't want to go through any sieve or any wine press. They don't want to be pressed. They want it easy. And so that's not what the future holds for us. We have a weakened magnetosphere that has been negated by 40+%, which means we're going to continue to get pounded by solar radiation. And they know that. That's why they're digging in. And you could probably be okay if you got about just 6 feet of dirt underneath you. Well, on top of you, hey, not underneath you. On top. Well, hey, wait, 6 feet under. What's this guy talking about? Well, so it's not like it's not possible, but most people, they love their surface dirt dwelling places of, and they don't, and the governments have been digging these underground military shelters, bases, bunkers, deep underground military bunker. So, but anyways, storing up and putting hollowing out, Chinese did it during World War II but you didn't see it and they did it, they did it out here where I'm at. One of the largest centers underground in the Pacific Northwest is right here. So you're not going to run from it. They got these facilities. They started taking these, these boring, Elon Musk nuclear. That's 80s technology. They were doing that, robbing the U.S. tax dollar, stealing their tax dollars and boring out the cities of this corporation, American or okay. I can't. You can. So Americans, I can. Remember that the transhumanism pitch I told Peter. See, that's what I'm saying. This is all coming together, Marissa. If people don't see this by now, let them go. They're just going to get in their little work camps again, like they did during World War II. That's where they're taking this nation. I don't care. I'm not going to get that wrong. I'm not. They did it before, and they'll do it again. They love their rituals. Nothing new under the sun. Their cycles, super cycles. So they already showed you on the debt calculator what that was all about. And now you should be fully versed to the 3 days of darkness and these eclipse and the 7 year and the Alice and the X and the Ark and the Jonah, in the Rapture, Indiana, baby, huh? Twice the judgments, but whatever. People don't want to hear it. Babylon, remember? You want to be in the cup, brothers, sisters. When that cup is poured out on the nations of that wrath, you want to be in there in that cup. Your blood is also supposed to be spilled to daily suffering. That it's a spiritual blood that's in that cup in the book of Revelation. Hope you keep reading it. I don't sit there and come in here and keep telling you this book and that we're living in this exact book right now for no reason, because I have celestial and biblical and scriptural proof. So I don't need to prove anything. The word does it on its own, but this firmament declares his handiwork. So I'm not concerned that people don't understand where we're at. They know it. That's why they're getting ready. Why do you see the the pretendant straight out kid said, oh, no, there's no list. There's no list. There's no list. And everybody already knows the list has been out for a long time and he's on the list. So I've been trying to tell you that he's an island boy. Remember the island boys? How many island boys did you get from me? And now it's in the mainstream, blame stream, always broadcasting craps talking about it. The Communist News Network, whatever, Clinton News Network, the MSLSD and all these, whatever. Probably even on RT, Russian television, whatever, television. So people don't want to pay no attention. Remember, they can't afford it. How much is gas? It's $4.39 where I live, a gallon. Still, almost $5. So what the hell? Well, I don't know why it's that. Knowledge is the word hell. No knowledge is hell. Hell's not a place. No, it's not. Stop it. You're a child. Hell's not below your feet. And I'm trying to tell you about stuff below your feet. Now you think that's hell, huh? You're an idiot. Grow up, child. Go spin around on your planet Earth. Okay? You don't live on Earth, and that Father never created one planet. So, girl, don't go away, man. Just go away. I don't care. You're a Jezebel. I don't care what sex you are. You're a Jezebel. So that Jezebel traditions, women of men, came in the women of men. No, traditions of men. Babylon, Babylon brainwaves. Remember, if you're not in the bowl, brothers, you're not in that cup of wrath that's poured out, you're going to be the one that the wrath is being poured out on. So you better get through that suffering now. Find your way to that straight gate, if you will, through that long, narrow path. Not a narrow path. That's not. I've already taught you that. Don't work like that. People don't study the word, and then they think it's, oh, well, I can sit down and have some Sunday fun day Jesus. I'll have a banana split with that and the cherry on top. Sweet Jesus. Cracker Jesus. You would like some crackers with your split there? All right. Listen here, cracker. Ain't going to be too many more saltines, right? It's supposed to be the salt of this rock, right? That we walk here. You don't live on earth. Stop it. Who told you live on earth? You're a child. Start studying the word and it might make more sense. Kind of like America doesn't even make 1 penny anymore, not 1 cent at all. So how the hell do you think this country's even worth a dime? We're the most indebted nation. Remember, we're the largest creditor nation in the 70s, right? Richard Nixon, Oh, crap. France came here and wanted their gold back. Oh, now we're the largest debtor nation. Oh, we're the largest debt, 37 trillion. And it's going to roll over again real quick. Because remember, like every 100 days, it's a 1.5 trillion. Remember, I just gave you the 1 trillion. You came back here every single day for $1 million I paid you. You'd have to come back here every day for 360,000 years to pay off $1 trillion. So that's a grip load of dead presidents, let me tell you. Paper payments, a nation that traded as paper minerals for paper payments, and now they don't even make 1 cent. It's crazy, The man's nuts, grab him. No, I know they love their Baal worship. There were Baal, Jezebel, remember all that sky daddy balls in the sky. So careful, they'll try to get you to come rub on their ball or crystal ball. They'll rub their crystal ball and tell you fortunes. Remember that glass ball you can see in the ball? I'll get you your little dog, Toto, too, right? Little flying monkeys. All right, no, remember, it's a barrel of monkeys, right? They think they live on a planet of apes, right? Or whatever. I think they got that Who Flung Dung, remember? Spots on the Wall by Who Flung Dung. You ever read that? You ever hear about that one? Whatever, it's a bunch of crap if you ask me. But anyways, remember, a barrel full of monkeys, they think it's a game. But don't mind me. It's mind over matter. I don't mind and they don't matter. It's okay. Father, he only made very few people are willing to, obviously, by Father's will, only go through the straight gate and only find that straight gate. Holy Ghost, very few, because they don't go through the narrow path. The way, Hados, narrow is the way. I told you. That's why I teach you this over and 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 over. Why do you keep saying the same stuff over and over, Pastor? I don't know. I'm going to say it until you can say it in your sleep. We'll beat it into your head. I'm a veteran, remember? Left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, 1, 2, your left, your 1, right, 3, 4. You're not getting it, are you? Move out. You're dragging ass. Move like pond water, soldier. Just sitting there stagnant. You need to do it now. Go. Move out. Draw fire. Somebody got to know where the enemy's at. How are we going to know what's that if you don't go draw fire? Get your 4th point of air, ass and gear, soldier. Remember, he said extra oil, so that's just weakness trying to leave your body, soldier. That's what's called pain. It's good for you. Fill it up. It's going to keep coming back. You're going to learn how to. There you go. Look at that. Somebody just made the move. Do something about it. Charlie Mike, Hotel Foxtrot, right? No, how about Hotel Sierra? No, right. I said, I was trying to keep it clean in here, but remember we were talking about spots on the wall by Who Flung Dung? Crap, Charlie, Romeo, Alpha Papa, crap. But anyways, all right, guys. Seriously, we're supposed to be soldiers of God. We're supposed to be out there earning our stripes. They have chevrons, and rockers, like a saddle, like a belly, all right, anyways. But if you're not out earning your stripes, then you're on that other Jesus. You're on that easy Jesus, I was talking about blood, it's spiritual blood. I want to find your garments washed clean and without blemish, white. And how's any of us without blemish? He's the one with that blood that washes us clean spiritually. Spiritual blood, brothers and sisters, all a spiritual covenant. So remember that. You better get spiritually prepared before all things. If your spiritual house is in order, the rest of you won't suffer. I guarantee you that. You won't even be doing what you need to be doing. You'll be taking the dog to the dog park, like Noah, marrying and building. It'll be as in the days of Noah, his return of the second coming of the Hamashiach. So, no, we're all filthy rags. None of us are, let's say, worthy, but who are we? We're not supposed to condemn ourselves, right? But that's what I'm saying. We're our biggest enemy. You are your biggest enemy. I am my own biggest enemy. That's idolatry. So auto-driven, autonomous self. That's latria. That's the word idolatry. Read the word for Christ's sake. And he said it will set you free. There's no such thing as freedom, or there's no such thing as free will. Free will never was. Freedom is dangerous as hell. And hell is not a place. Hell's the word knowledge. He said, my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. I'll throw them in hell. Abyss. Abyss is the word no knowledge. Might want to rethink that one. So you're not going to... You might already be there if you think about it, but not the 7th horn, the 7th shofar. It hasn't been the final trump. So don't worry about that. You're not going to turn a goat into a sheep. It's not possible. Father doesn't love everybody. Most people go to hell. Very few find the straight gate, remember? Father shows them the Hados, the way. The only way to the Father is through the Son. So remember, not this easy sex pistol. Let me see your decamite. It's a stick up for Jesus. Holy moly. They do their whatever. They love their sugar daddy. The little get stuck in their teeth, little lollipop, religious idiots. All of them. There's not one good religion that walks the rock today. Not one. He said, doesn't dwell in temples made by hands. Twice. He always declares 2 witnesses. So remember, 2 witnesses, 2 kings. I come quickly, Revelation 3:11. Let no one take your crown. If you see what I'm saying, you'll know which king I'm talking about, because they're not just one king. Remember, they just had their no kings ritual. They love celebrating you. Do the halftime show. Remember the Super Bowl, stupid occultic ritual halftime to exempt corporation? What is it, the AFL or the NFL? I don't know how that works, but I haven't done that in a while. When I was younger, I fell for all that nonsense. When we're young, he said, come out of her, my people. So some people never grow up. I mean, worldly. They're just worldly. Spiritually, they're just stuck on dumb. They think there's such thing as free will. Father did never created any such thing as free will. Father created all things. So how's there such thing as free will? They do. They have two. The serpent absolutely has a forked tongue. People told me that about me many times. They're like, dude, don't talk to me. You have a forked tongue. I'm like, okay, whatever, man. You just don't like hearing the truth. I know what it is. I'm going to give you both sides. You got to be able to tell truth from a lie, right? That's what Father hates, when you add one lie to the truth. 99 truths and a lie is a lie. 99 lies and truth is still a lie. So see how that works? Yeah, sin is a sin. Remember, a little leaven leavens a whole lump. But like cream always rises to the top, brothers and sisters, to the occasion, doesn't it? Not like pride above others, but he said put that at the top of your house. So I'm hoping you don't go for this easy peasy sin, leaven, Sex Pistol, cracker Jesus, because when you mix these religious Jesus with your own sin, you become drunk on this world and you don't care about the word anymore. And you just broker your salvation to some dude in a pulpit in some house made by hands, or some dude on the internet. And even under this, it's all covenant. You better listen to some of these ladies are more versed than most of these men. I think they had to step up their game. Remember, they're going to draft them in America. They killed all of them in Ukraine. Whole Ukrainian generation of women gone with the U.S. tax dollar. And most Americans or cans, I can't, but they can. They don't even know that happened. And they paid for it. They're mass murders with their U.S. tax dollar, W-2 tax dollars. So, no, not this land. Israel already paid this land off. Already paid the land off. This land is paid off, man. I should have got the attorney, but guess what? Don't worry about it. I'm 2,000 short now of being able to. I have to go by in the morning and pay this guy. He's got to move forward, man. I ain't going to jail. So I still have land. This 20 acres here, and then there's still the 20 acre up the road. You should just get your ass out here. I don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't need money. I already told you that a million times to come out here. So there we go. I hate this country, so you know. I love the Constitution. Fuck America. So whatever, we've been bombing the hell out of people. We've been dropping freedom bombs and democracy bombs in other countries. Israel is a veteran in here. You know what I'm saying? So he knows what I'm talking about. Israel's a vet. We do horrible things to other nations. And so you can stand on the X, go inside, flatten the curve. I hate this country so much, but I love the Constitution because it's a God-protected right. If you apply it, use or lose kind of deal. If you know what that means, your military, they'll take that stuff from you if you don't use it up, right? So hide it away and make you use it later. Some deadline equipment. Like, there you go, soldier. Here we go. We got a Democrat in office. Now use this. Right. Anyways, it don't matter. But anyways, still, seriously, you've gone around and just destroyed these other nations. And yeah, don't worry about it. No worries, Israel. Some of us, we might not see each other till the other side, man. This ain't about this flesh, man. Remember, this flesh is a temporary meat suit, so don't worry about it. I'm only trying to bond with people on the other side. This life ain't nothing compared to what we're going to be, kings, and be crowned. And you have to have that crown when you get there, and he will provide you that new body that he says that's not going to be with this flesh. So get ready. It's going to get like heavenly, you're going to get lifted and it ain't going to be anywhere above your head. It's going to be on the meek will inherit the earth. So just keep doing whatever you're doing. Father has us all where we're supposed to be. Don't doubt that. Keep that in mind. I've been teaching that since TikTok, and this channel was before TikTok too. And I've been doing this for what now, a dozen years. You can see half a dozen channels of me working on this platform over and over again. Sharing the love. Sharing the love. That's what we're supposed to be doing, brothers, sisters. Be charitable. So I don't care what suffering I go through. I'm going to speak up. This country is a disgusting, filthy country, and we were once blessed, but we fell from grace. We fell from mercy. We go out vengeance, and we police the whole world with 1,000 military bases. But I still love the Constitution. So I don't even have to live in the country to still love that Constitution. Just so you know, when I took an oath, your first general order, now it's the same across board. It's a military thing. But the first general order you take is do not quit your post until properly relieved. So the true soldier is a soldier for life. It doesn't matter. It's like a country boy. You can take a boy out of the country, but you can't take a country out of the boy. Like I said, I've tried to remind veterans, soldiers that have served the military, that what the hell you think you didn't serve for people's freedom, you idiot. You serve for people's right to choose. What the fuck is your problem? You're an 8-up soldier. You know what? You're 16 up, motherfucker. You're twice as 8 up as these other motherfuckers over here. Apologize. Snap back into my. All right. Apologize. Well, that came out. I apologize. But whatever, snap back into my own, and there's no excuse, man. The soldiers are supposed to be ones taken care of. These police officers ain't done it. We're supposed to have a heavily well-regulated militia, heavily armed in every state, and we don't have that. We got a bunch of laydowns in America, a bunch of weak-ass men. Allowed posse comitatus to be repealed. That means they can bring every one of those soldiers that are in those 1,000 military bases and those weapons, federal, active duty, not National Guard, that pointed away from you are now pointed. They just put 700 Marines, jarheads, on the streets of Los Angeles. People like, America. I hate this country. What it's become. That's against the Constitution. That's posse comitatus. What the hell will happen to, hey, they were, remember, Senate bill, I can't remember the number on it, don't matter. It's already been done, and they are drafting American women. So don't mean to rain on your parade, but somebody's got to do it. A good soldier, when you take a note that says defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and we got domestic enemies on the homeland. It's called our government. And they've got them in all countries. It's called the governments. These are the ones, this invasive hominoid species, not shapeshifters, not aliens, not big feet. Men, hominoid species that wants to kill us. All of us. They did a pretty good job at doing the old, bow to the altar at Jabba. Get your update. How many boosters would you like today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is starting to get a little militant. Feel like I'm marching left, right. Boy, they just keep sticking them, huh? Like I said, soldier, that's just pain trying to... Pain is just weakness trying to leave your body. What are you talking about? Love the government. Put on your little face diaper. Participate in our little masquerade and fear. We'll just fear porn you. How about that? You like porn, pornea, self-driven? You're scared. How about trusting the Father and the Word, not the science and not the government? So, nope. This nation should already have had a new government. So this starts back in, I told people to stay out of the bushes, remember? People don't listen. Remember, everybody voted for Al Gore, most number one president ever, more votes, popular vote, Al Gore, than any other president in the history of the United Corporation of this Americans, or cuz, and they gave you Baby Bush. You already had Senior, right? So people love it, and they blame him for Blind 11 when it was Warp Speed who was responsible with this Tesla tech. How do you think they got the backbone out of that thing? So wasn't, whatever. I saw a pretty good animation on that earlier today. I don't know where it showed up on my feed, but they went over the same thing, trying to blame it on. I'm not going to go there. If you read the 9/11 Commission and went through all that, you'd understand what's going on here. But, well, that's kind of a bad thing. Well, I'm talking about Revelation 9 and 11. How about that? They have an angelos, a messenger, a king, an angel. That angel is a king. He's the king of the abyss. Knowledge, no knowledge. Hell. Hell's not a place. Hell's no knowledge. Wake up, child. Walk down the street and ask people where hell's at. They're going to point below their feet. That's not where hell's at. Hell's right here. Remember, believe is not an action word. Believe is not a thought in your head. You can't believe in God. Go away. Get away from me. Go learn, study, or be quiet. Don't speak up in here. Go study Jim Brown at Grace and Truth Ministries. You should study it. It's in the Word. You don't need Brother Jim Brown. You don't need me. You can have a personal relationship with Father. Remember, seek and you shall find. Ask, and you shall receive. And hello, knock, and I will come sup with you. Sup, I will feed you the meat. That's what I'm giving you right now, but people don't want the meat. So this is what you need to be, though. You need to be spiritually ready to die every day to self. It's a daily thing that we do. It's not something we don't just start doing yesterday or a week ago, or, you know. Yeah. So we should all be coming together. I don't know why we don't live in communities and saying the government and making our own. We could not even, you know, just self-exist. We're growing our own food. We have everything. Why do we need government? Well, that would be a threat to government. You sound like one of these evolutionists trying to go around the system, not go round and round like a revolver. Let us keep getting you loaded, remember? And then we'll just keep firing you off, huh? Woo, you're fired, remember? Mr. Warp Speed, you're fired. The Apprentice. All right, never mind. We'll just keep sticking, and you're like a circus. We just keep playing you like a carnival. Round and round you go. Hey, hey, Mom, I see the way you move. All right, never mind. Let's not go there. You guys are just keep letting them spin you around in a circle, right? You don't go anywhere. You're like a hamster on a wheel. Get it? Just yeah. Oh, we're gonna start a revolution. That's what they want you to do. When you could just, or we could all already went around the system. I ain't getting on Israel, but Israel could already been here. He's doing his thing, but you know, remember, Kinetic was on his way. He's already here. He's already coming. You know, all these people, you know, no, Father will do all these things on his time and his will on his own. So I ain't trying to force anybody. Remember, I like organic things, not things that are, I don't like to force people to do things. People do these things on their own. You know what I'm saying? Damn, this chat sucks. So, yep, you better get to your place where you don't need anything. You need everything. You shouldn't need anything right now. How long can you make? If you shut your doors, blocked up your place, how long could you make it right now without going to the store? You can't go to the store ever again because they mess with the chat. There's no more live chat. It's top chat and all messages, and I don't get all messages. So I just have to keep flipping between the messages to try to get it to pull up the old messages. It's stupid top messages, and I don't know. It is what it is. They whole format. Like I used to have I don't have that anymore. Remember, you pull that stuff up in the background. I can't do that anymore. They just change whatever they want. They do whatever they want to you know, how long can you make it right now? If you had to shut your gate, shut your doors where you're at, and not go anywhere, how long could you make it? No more stores. The sun takes the grid down, and they don't take cash to the stores because they don't do digital, and it would mess up their inventory. So until the lights come back on 3 years from now, we don't take anything anymore. You're on your own. Yeah, I've already disclosed all what that's about, Marissa. You're going to find more information on what those are right here than any other channel. So nobody else is exposing it. So I'm the only blogger with the 9/23/1945 ritual that they're doing already, and they're going to enslave people, American citizens, in these work camps. So they already did it once. So there'll be Walmart, remember, in Department of Homeland Security cooperation with government subsidized corporation Walmart. So it's the government. So that's who did it during World War II, and that's why they have so many Walmarts across this corporation getting ready for everybody. And everybody knew that, but they called them, camps. The federal, or Federal Emergency Management Agency, the one who takes over when the president declares a national emergency, but nobody wants to listen to me. And I don't care what people think. I already put that work out in Truth Viral Television. Go look it up, 923 executive orders. If you follow that channel there, you know what's going on now, but you didn't follow it back then, so you don't know what's going on now. And I do. I gave you all the freaking white papers. I read it. I actually had the white papers there. Truth Viral Television. I read you, how many, through all the presidents I went on, who, not every single one, but went through all the most and who did the, and went through the whole spiel with you, trying to warn you of the coming of Trump, the coming of this medical martial law that they did. But nobody wanted to listen to me. And that's okay. Remember, I don't care what people think. I put out stuff now that you might not see for years to come, but it doesn't matter. I can't warn you of something when it's already happening. That's the stupidest thing ever. I don't want to even deal with people like that. Oh, it's already happening. You've already got your house is already flooded out, and I knew that this storm was coming. Oh, your leg's getting green, man. You should go get that cut off, man. Or maybe go to the doctor before they have to. No, everything's fine. I'm good. I don't need anything. I'll be fine. The Walmart, the Piggly Wiggly will always be open. The Kroger's always got groceries, you know. So how long can you make it if shit shuts off? No more crypto, you know. And that will come back on. You're right, Israel. You're going to have to hold that. Do you have your actual key in your hand? Do you own that thing? You know, so you better be ready to hold. You better have your whatever, that little thing. I'm not sure. I only have Bitcoin on here because somebody donated Bitcoin to me here one time about 2 years ago. Somebody gave me a CashApp Bitcoin. I didn't know there was CashApp Bitcoin, but it started out $50. It got down to like $30. I think it's up to about $70 now. I think it hit about 80, but I'm just going to leave it in there because I don't care about Bitcoin or any of those things, but that's a good way to make money. And so cash out now, start pulling profit, Israel. Bitcoin's at 116. There's never wrong to take profit. I mean, if it's the right coin, right crypto, you'll know whatever, you know, if you do that marketplace, but, you know, or not marketplace, if you do that crypto space, you know what I'm talking about. You have to wait. Some of these are a longer hold until, now remember, in a crypto market, all ships rise in a rising tide. So that's why all cryptos went up last time. They all go up. There's meme coins, so you got to watch out because they put these things out and they'll make money and then they're bam. Trump did it with his Trump coin. He memed the hell. That's why Donald Trump, what an idiot. What a bunch of people made millions on those coins though. Trump and Melania coin too. They did it. The freaking president memed the hell out of people with the meme coin and made millions, and people made millions on it. Right. So, but what I'm trying to tell people now, and do whatever, I'm not giving any financial advice, but there's nothing wrong with, if you look at this whole, there's going to be a side. All these crypto markets do is keep people out of gold and silver, keep people out of precious metals, you know, keep people from going to, you know, something that's tangible. There's no more. Remember, the U.S. Treasury, okay, the U.S. Treasury was the only, or the bond was the only tier one asset on this rock, the safest investment you can put your money into by far. Well, was it 2023? They made gold. They made gold a tier one asset. Gold. And then in 2023, the central banks bought more gold than they have since 1913, the history inception of the central banks. And then 2024, they bought more gold than they did in 2023, right? And then they bought more gold in 2025 this year at a record, and that's why gold is sitting at. So I know gold is not, you know, I'm not giving it because gold's not a lottery ticket. Okay, gold is not a crypto. Crypto is like a lottery ticket. You buy it and you can win big. People want the big money now. It's like a lottery. That's what they do with your money, put it in their little, you know, stock markets, you know, or whatever. Okay, so, but anyways, you know, that's where they're headed, is they're sidetracking people out of these gold and silver markets right now and draining, and that's fine because people who are smart, they're going to take gold and pull their gold out of the market, right? No, they're going to pull their crypto out and buy some gold with their crypto earnings. So crypto is a great space right now if you can pull profits, because everybody is going back and there's too much money that's gone into the crypto space, such as the ETFs and turning Bitcoin right into that and all the big money. And they bought for like 3 or 4 years, right? Closer to about 2030 time, right? Line is what their timeline is. So you can't tell me these markets aren't going to be another side of these markets. Kind of like Israel was saying. You're just going to have your crypto key and your code and have the physical, because if not, then it's just going to go into the space. So you need to know whatever that is. I forget how that works, but you need to know your crypto code or whatever. Once to pull it off, now you need to know that anyways. But be smart, pull off it, and I work my ass off, like I said, for all this right here, and I'm gonna go give it up tomorrow. So. And I wish I didn't have to, but guess what? I don't care. I'd rather find out if my son and daughter are okay. So I'll make more precious metals. I'll just never get them at the price that I'm getting them now. So these are fire sale prices on precious metals. Gold, even at the price it's at right now, is a steal. So I'm glad I worked so hard that I have something like dollars where it's just getting inflated and they're worth less and less and less. So, I might lose a little bit on premium or whatever, but again, today I was able to take a loan on the flatbed, so I didn't have to sell that, and I can keep that here in the, keep that in the ministry. So I have to pay this off for my whatever. I'm paying for myself to stay out of jail if I can. Okay, at this point, I want to be with my dogs if Father will allow that, and like to stay out here instead of being locked up. I can serve the ministry, I'm saying, a lot better outside the ministry than I can being locked up in jail, and find out where my son and daughter. So this would pay for the ministry, right? This would pay for the ministry. What I have that I'm gonna have to pay for this, it's $20,000. I have, I think, with the loan that I've taken, I think I have $18,000 right now with the gold and silver that with the, was it over 200 ounces of silver that I have. So, and whatever 3.5 or something like that, I have ounces of gold that I've been working for all year. Quarter cock, been doing more work in here and more work for outside, way more work. And so, I'm glad that I was able to put this away for now, and have this. Like I said, it's kind of a bummer I didn't get that 40 pounds of silver back, from Marshall, but that's fine. It is what it is. Father didn't want me to have it back. So here's how I look at it. I was going to probably, because I was still selling the land, but I don't want to justify anything. I got to keep myself out of jail to even go to Ecuador, right? So I got to slow the Ecuador thing down. I'm super focused because remember, I was going to buy this Ecuador property and had, an investor with mine and the other to just buy it. But for now, if I'm in jail, this stuff could be sitting in the safe last time, and somebody, now I let them go in the safe and take the gold, but they took my silver. What does it good do me if I'm sitting in a jail cell? So, and if Father wants me to go to jail, there's nothing I'm going to do to stop going from jail. He'll put me in jail. So Father's I'm not worried about it. Like, I don't lose sleep. I don't think about it at night. But how I'm looking at it now is I have the other land for sale. So I think the price of land is going to keep going up where I'm at because it's so cheap out here. So even if a lot of the other markets crash, that's going to drive a lot of people out here even more. It's already happened many times, and people are already coming out here. So I'm just going to have to try to make up for on the land. You know what I'm saying? I have to make up for it on the land. I'm going to have to buy the land with the land, not with the gold. You know what I'm saying? And silver. I'm going to have to buy if I can buy my way out of jail, I probably should have done it a while ago, but I don't care. Remember, it is what it is. I still have no regrets paying this land off so that all this can stay within the ministry and it can keep serving, even if I'm gone and go to jail, which I'm trying to stay out of jail. Remember, I used my mouth. They assaulted me. They battered me. They grenaded me. They hurt me. I didn't assault anybody. I didn't use anything but my mouth, brothers and sisters. That's it. That's all I did is I just spoke up. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be very easy for them to throw me in jail. I don't have a record or anything like that. So Father already has my destiny already. I'm saying I'm not going to get away or squeeze out of whatever they're going to do to me or whatever's going to happen or not. It's already I'm good with that. I'm good. I already feel in a sense of accomplishment. I just want these people to be held accountable now, not out of vengeance. So I got to get through. I'm glad I went and finally paid. Like I said, this is a very expensive attorney. He's one of the most expensive attorneys, and but you get what you pay for in this life, especially in this current world, right? So, like I said, would you give up your gold and silver? So I'm glad I was able to accomplish that today, guys. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated, not like that I couldn't. That father, I have a motorcycle out here that I have up for 2200, 2250. I put up that Honda Valkyrie for. Like I said, I had people wanting to trade me like a nice BMW, and I don't really, but like a $8,000 or $9,000 BMW. I guess I can want that bike. I know what bike. I looked through the reviews, and I had a boat, some other things that I didn't need. People offered to trade me as the value. Now I got it down to $2,200. And Father, well, I can't even get like I said, I re-advertised today the marketplace to put the land on sale, and it was up for 3 hours, and then no more comments, no more nothing. It just gets shut down. So that's about my expiration time on the internet now. I put something up, and 3 hours it's taken down. So, or it just sits up there, and nobody says anything about it. So, oh, I just don't. For something, I don't need a utility BMW, and I probably could have, right? I wanted to ride it a couple more times, and thought, well, summertime, somebody will buy it, and I could rather use the cash than a BMW. Sometimes I'll do that, EMS. That's how I work. Sometimes I'll trade out of something into something else if I can get a little more value out of it, and it's a win-win, and trade that for later. But there's times I don't want to do another trade and just stay where I'm at, and that was with the bike. So just kind of a bummer, like I said, because why wouldn't he sell that bike? This is the summer, man. This is the best time to ride, and that has got one of the best reviews on that Honda Valkyrie. I mean, that bike doesn't blow around on the highway. It's got enough power to pass. It's faster than any Harley Davidson on the road. It's faster than any Harley. So it'll beat the pants off a Harley Davidson. So it's a good bike, and it's got great reviews, and it's just Father doing it to me. So that I don't get, I'm just like, it's frustrating. I'm like, now I'm at the finish line here, and I'm this close, and I, like I said, I had more money than that, and I could have paid off the ministry, or, I could have, it's actually, John's giving me an insane rate. I don't know why he's giving me actually, I thought about it after, because like I said, remember, I paid more to get my son out of jail, and he didn't represent him in a trial. He just worked on the case, and they were really hard with Elijah, and, on letting him out, and they were super adamant. They were really pissed off at me back then. He probably more, well, they sent a SWAT team, so I guess I got them more pissed off. I think they're any less pissed off at me right now. So, but anyways, they were pissed off at me. I was protesting the sheriff's office during the COVID, remember? So I had them really upset at me. So whatever, I'm a veteran. I took an oath to the Constitution. I don't care. You do you and I do me. Okay. That's what people was like, damn, dude, why can't you just go along and, I had people tell me during the COVID, you're going to get arrested by the federal government, Tracy. You can't be holding protests against the sheriff's office and the government and the, governor saying this is all a scamdemic and all that, and they're going to come throw you in prison. I'm still here. I'm still standing here. And I'm glad that I did, because people said I wasn't going to make it through the COVID, and I did. You know what I'm saying? And here I am now in another huge, massive battle that my own Father has me, and I'm pretty sure on the other end of this, even if I pull out and go to some jail cell, it'll be a win-win for Father, because I'll be sharing the word with somebody that needs to hear it. Or it'd be nice to be out here. So, because I don't want my dogs to have to suffer. So I wouldn't even go to jail that long, guys. I've already looked into this too, and I'm not going to see, it's just because, like, I had no idea that they didn't put those other 2 charges, felonies. So that's I don't know why they did what they did. They did what they did because they're idiots, okay, out here. And they're not very good at policing. So it'll all come out in the wash. I don't seek any vengeance towards any man, or woman, because, I'm sure there was, Lily Frank, that lady's a criminal. Crusher Brunsman, those women should be in a women's prison right now. Just those 2 females right there. So I'm not partial, trying to go after a bunch of dudes. It's anybody who's involved in the case, and I'm not going after them. They need to be accountable for what they did. So that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's all I want. You know what I'm saying? So I have the civil lawsuits. When I get through the criminal case, then I move on with the civil lawsuits. So I'm actually going to get probably not like here for probably stuck here for at least a few more months. in my eyes. At least, no, not on the case, but I'm going to have to file the civil lawsuits. And so that may take, a little bit of time to look through the evidence, go through, because there's a lot of evidence on these civil lawsuits. I bet you I have at least, well, with each officer, remember, I can sue their bond. They're all bonded. Everybody in this case, there's probably 30 people in this case that hold between a $1 and $2 million bond. Yes, they do. They work in public servants. So like even in construction, if you work in construction, you get bonded, licensed, bonded, insured. Police officers are bonded, judges are bonded. So if I sue their bond, then they can't work as a judge anymore. If they get their bond taken from them, if they're a police officer, their bond gets sued. I'm not talking about suing the county or the state. I'm talking about suing their bond. So that's what I'll be doing, is suing their bond. So I may settle and not sue the state or the county, and that's fine. I have to figure out what this civil lawsuit attorney wants to do. So John is working on that. You know what I'm saying? John is working on that. So he has civil, that he's not, and he doesn't deal with anything civil. He's strictly criminal attorney. He's like, we've got to keep you out of jail so you can sue these people. If you go to jail, you're not going to be suing anybody, right? So let's do this in order. Focus on the criminal charges. We do the civil after the criminal charges are taken care of. So he knows what he's doing. And I think he gave me a reasonable rate because he looked through and he saw how much money that it cost to get Elijah out of jail and his bail. Because he asked me, he's looking through, he's like 9 here, right there. He's going, who paid Elijah's bail? $9,000 on this one charge? What the hell? 130? Who paid his bail? I said, I did. So I think that's why he's giving me a reduced rate. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense, because I don't even know how he's doing it for the rate he's doing it. So I think he wants to get it done and he knows what he's doing. He must know something that I don't know, and that's why I hired this guy. So hopefully, like I said, tomorrow, I'm going to have to go into town, take the gold and silver into town. I couldn't find any donors, and that's fine. It is what it is. I tried, guys. At least I tried, right? Open up the door. It's not like you came here and grifted people. I said, don't give unless you don't have, so it's not like you came in here, you got to give to be a part. No, only give if you have abundance. So that's, coming up a couple thousand short. I'll figure it out. Like I said, but then I'm like, what's up with the motorcycle? What's up with all these other things that I have for sale, the land and all these things? Why isn't the land sold? I have somebody offer me a $50,000 Tesla wall or something, So it is what it is. How could I sue their bond for stealing your Bitcoin? Huh? Who stole your Bitcoin? The cops stole your Bitcoin? That's all on record. You should have record of all that. So it's a digital space. Everything is tracked and traced. There's nothing done. It's all attached to the chain, the blockchain. That's why it's called blockchain technology. Crypto, but it's communism. It's digitally track and trace every single asset on this rock as a digital asset, but the physical asset will be tracked digitally. So that's what it is. There's no anonymity. And whoa, Bitcoin, you can have anonymity. No, there's no anonymity in any of these cryptos. So you could make record of that. But like I said, I feel like I at least made the attempt. What I've always said, I don't remember, not always, but when somebody taught me that closed mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask, some people are charitable, but sometimes you have to open the door, for something to happen, so to speak. Make the opportunity. So I'm glad, like I said, at least gave the opportunity for somebody in here to that had abundance to try, and they didn't, so it's okay. I was able to cover it last time. I'm 2,000 short this time, and that's awesome, And then I'm not leaning on the ministry. It's not supposed to be me leaning on the ministry, and I know that many ministries get given, or churches. Today's Sunday. How many people went to church today and got you know, a bunch of fake pastors with no true gospel, a bunch of fake gospel, other gospel, and they got tied a bunch of fake, you know, fake dollar bills, but whatever, you know, they work. That's what I need now. This attorney needs fake dollar bills. I showed him the gold and silver, you know, the gold, and he looked at it and he said, let me see that, you know, so maybe that too. He knows I'm losing a lot in this because I told him I'm, you know, this is my retirement. All my retirement got taken from me last time. This is my retirement to go down to Ecuador and buy this property so I can go down there and be done. Once I'm done purchasing that property, then I can go on the road, you know, and travel, you know, the whole world. And that's hopefully where I'll go. So I feel blessed, you know, like I said, to even be, go ahead, Tago. And I'm sure that, again, that I have a pickup truck out here that, you know, that thing's got $1,000 worth of freaking tires on it, brand new tires. As a matter of fact, I need to find that. Or I put that warranty paperwork. But either way, though, I try to get somebody a couple times to come out and fix it for me, but they don't show up. You know, they say they will. And then they don't. The guy didn't show up. He didn't show up the first day, and he called to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, my wife had something, and I'll gonna come over tomorrow." Yeah, okay, go ahead. And then he never showed up. So, because I could have that truck, you know, that truck's worth at least probably $3,500. That's what I paid for it. So I don't know why I wouldn't get at least that back out of it, because it's kind of an old man truck. It's you know, it's in good shape. It's all beat on. It's 4-wheel drive truck, and it's got nice tires and drives good. And so I tried that too. I tried to get that person to come out here and fix that for me. I had another try to get somebody to come out and fix this other generator for me that worked on it. That's like a $1,500 generator. You know, I remember the land. I dropped the land down to, you know, by $10,000. I did that one weekend only. Just tried to do that. Dropped it down 20 to see if anybody. And that's actually when I did that. Now I'm getting taken down off the internet. You know what I'm saying? They've been pulling it down after about 3 to 4 hours. It just won't. So maybe I'll put it up to 60,000 or something, you know, and see if somebody can, you know, get one of these people. Oh, honey, look at this one. We got to buy this one. This is the best property in town. It's the most expensive. So anyway, here's another piece of Silver Eagle, $5 gold. Liberty Silver Eagle, $5 gold piece. American Eagle, a $5 American Eagle. 1/10 of an ounce. I think that's what that is. So I don't know what prices they'll give me too, and I'm hoping that they'll give me, you know, close to spot or near spot, you know, because everything I paid spot plus more. So a little bit, you know, as far as the silver, the gold, I worked for all the gold to include this piece of gold as well. So I worked hard for it, 15 months, and I, you know, like I said, there was some hard deals that took to get to, you know, I live out in the middle of yeah, I've been thinking about buying property down there. Actually talked with somebody about going in on some property down there. There's a bunch of places down there, you know, Bonanza, and even down through, I mean, you go over towards Crescent up that far or down. There's a bunch of places. And you go in the woods and buy a piece of property. They're pretty reasonable place too. There's a bunch of people living the dream in I think Will, that guy, he went and lived in the Oregon woods for about 7 months till he got kicked out. He lived on federal land. He built a cabin and whatnot, a couple things out there, and he finally got tossed out of there. I see him on my Facebook when I go over on that and look through the marketplace. He pops up through my regular feed sometimes over there, but he's some younger kid in his 20s or whatever. He's went out there and getting it, go living in the Klamath Forest down there somewhere. Well, what a bond is, Marissa, is that an officer or a public servant is bonded. A bond is something that somebody carries when they have to, you know, because of the liability in their line of duty. And so, like a contractor that's going to be building a house for you, he is bonded. So if he comes out and he, you know, he doesn't put the right rebar in and it cracks out, well, you can sue his bond. And then he, you know, he gets lazy or something and he lets something slide on the first floor and it gets really bad on the second floor or whatever, and it causes, you know, whatever, and it's, you got to sue his bond. Only a couple times is he going to make a screw up and he's not going to be able to work anymore. So you actually sue their bond, and so you'll get reimbursed for the damages. So I would sue for physical, punitive, and emotional damages in my case against their bond. So there's a lot of people don't even realize that cops are bonded. Most people don't know that. They just sue the county or the state. The cop gets a promotion because he just moves to another department. He gets a little discipline and actually goes in another department, hires him on. That's what that happens to him. Okay. Right. So against their, and if they mess up, then they have to pay out of that bond. And so most surely bond typically 1,000 per officer. Then you go to the department. Yes, but listen, most, like I said, a lot of officers hold at least $1 million bond. Police officers, first responders, or their bonds are $1 and $2 million bonds. That's not like that's. I mean, I've held insurance and bonded and you know, inland marine policies for $5 million and stuff. You know, and it's not $1 million bond is not a huge bond. So again, when I've looked into this before, most officers are bonded at about $1 million to $2 million bond. So remember, they're paying the insurance on that, not the actual bond. So the department's paying the insurance on that. It's part of this, whatever. It's a scam is what it is, but it is real. There is payouts just like insurance. So if they screw up, I think a security officer, like a flashlight cop, probably have $100,000 bond. And they could probably carry even more of a bond than that, depending on which business they were working at. So, but in my studies, I found that most bonded, and then judges can have 5 and 10 and 15, and some of you, depending if they're federal or whatever, could have a larger bond than that as well. So they hide this, and they don't want people to know this. But what it does is, I'm not seeking vengeance against any of these officers, any of these parole officers, probation officers, whoever got involved in this and didn't stand up, like Tony, the guy, the rapist, let him run around, and my son was in jail for a year. There's just so many lawsuits that I will be suing their bond. That way, if I can start that process and then I can find my son or daughter, if either of them are alive, I will encourage them to do the same thing. So that doesn't put Lily Frank out of business forever. She just now has to go flip burgers or maybe go become a landscaper or do something, but she can't work as a public servant in public capacity anymore as a peace officer or public or community service officer or servant. They won't be able to work in that line of field because they're not bondable anymore. So it doesn't take them out of work. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to get back at these people and I'm going to take their whole life. I'm going to strip everything they have and I don't want to be able to feed their kids. That's not what this is going to be done here. Okay, what I'm looking to do is to make sure that these people never operate in these capacities ever again. You know what I'm saying? And then they could go find another line of work. And that is what it is. See, it doesn't take their means of feeding themselves, but it takes them out of that line of work. So I think what I'm doing is right, and it holds them accountable. And there's the only way for me to do this without, like I said, this is the way it needs done. So I didn't want to do this. I avoided for 15 months not doing it. So they could have settled this a long time ago. So this is the route they chose, not me. This is the route Father chose, not me. I really wish that I could be in another country right now. I really do. I don't want to be in America. I don't feel safe in America. I think America is the most unsafe nation and will continue to be until it gets its retribution for all the 1,000 military bases in 180 countries for 50 plus years of stomping the piss out of everybody and dropping democracy and freedom bombs on everybody. So I'm through with it. And so I'm through with this system, how they've treated me, how they've treated my son, how they've treated my daughter. It's just, this is an apostasy. So I'm glad that I have the ability right now to buck up this precious metals that I've got, and I'm sure John will figure it out if I come up a couple thousand short. I just wanted it all up front. I might not need all of that, because if he can settle this without going to trial, I won't need that additional 5, which is a scream. And I don't know how he's doing it for that. I think he's just giving me a reduced rate because he knows how much I've lost. So it'd be a little tough pill to swallow to take all my precious, all that gold. That's a lot of freaking work to make that gold out here. I never would ever thought that I'd been able to come into that much, but I worked hard, so Father is provided through my labor and through my, brain and my skill set and ability to get this thing squared away, hopefully. And maybe it'll go. Cause see, I still had to bail myself out of jail the other, was in May, and I had to pay $4,000 to bail myself out of jail, cash that. So while I get that cash back, remember, Elijah's bond $130,000. Will I get that? Well, do I get that back? Do I get any of that back? If they drop, because I'm insisting they drop not only my case, but they drop Elijah's case too. So it's not just mine. I told already this attorney, if they don't drop both our cases, because they already dropped Adrian on us, if they don't drop both our cases, just plan on going to trial. Because I'm not going to negotiate just for me. This isn't about me. What does that do? So unless they're willing to drop both cases in this, and walk away from it, that's a lot of money that be coming back from Elijah's bond, and I'm the one who paid it. So whether I paid it because Marshall took all my precious metals, I had a hell of a lot more than his bond. So yeah. Thanks, guys, for being a support, though, for the last 15 months. Although, again, nobody was able to give financially, it's okay. It's just the way it is. It's a really tough market right now. I know that. That's why I'm a little concerned about when I go to the precious metal markets. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've never seen that much silver and gold laying in these trays. And I know it's because only the rich people are buying gold and silver right now, and most people are just barely getting by. So most people can't afford it, or they just don't know how to obtain it. And so that shows me that people are selling, and so the idea was never to buy it with pieces of paper and trade it back for paper. It was to trade those for a piece of land, or a horse or a tractor or something like that down the road, where I know it'd be a considerable more amount of money. But it's okay. Like I said, it is what it is. Just if I can find out something about Elijah or Adrian, it'll be worth it to me. I'll just, I won't talk about it anymore, and just be, all right, look, it is what it is. What can you do? Don't worry about things can't change. Worry about what you can. So I'm thankful that you guys put up with me here for, I don't know. Remember, I didn't ask anybody to pay for this until real recently just the other day. I was like, man, they're going to straight throw me in jail. If I don't go pay for an attorney, they're going to throw me in jail. And I'm not going to be able to find my son or daughter. They don't remember, I reported him missing, murdered in open court, reported to the police department. They won't go look for him. I even told them where they're at, where they would be kidnapped, where they'd be murdered at. Gave them the location, gave them the motive. They won't go do anything. So, I got to do this, guys. Maybe, again, this will move this forward. If I press on this county, maybe they'll disclose the location of my son. Maybe they'll, go down there and finally arrest Marshall. There's a whole nother lawsuit against Marshall. That guy stole 40 pounds of my silver, all my gold, my passport. I had other paperwork in there too, other than my passport, but that was a pretty important document. That's a felony to withhold somebody's passport from them or steal their passport. So I think I can show he had it, and if he burnt it now, that's stupid of him to do something like that or whatever. I don't know what he did with it, but I know he had it. He said he had it, and I have the evidence saying he does have it. So, because he said he had my silver, and he's the one who went, and I'm the one who told him, this is where it's at. Go get it. Don't touch my silver, but you can take the gold, go bail Elijah out. Should be enough gold there. If he wants to chip in, he's got a little bit of money. I went and traded a car for 2 boxes of silver for him. Cost me $50 my own gas money. So I'll take it out in silver, Dad. I don't have a lot of cash right now, son. I don't want the silver right now. I need the cash. You don't want silver, Dad? Well, I didn't think it was going to cost me $50 my own money to go get it. Oh, I figured you'd be all right with that. Yeah, well, why didn't you tell me before that? Remember, Dad doesn't have a bank all the time. Like, I don't live in town anymore. So sometimes my bank is in something else. So that's what I've got right now. I've got quite a bit of I don't have a ton, but I still have a couple vehicles out here, and um, that could be put up for sale, my motorcycle and whatnot. So I'll figure it out. It'll all work itself out. So hopefully John will be a little lenient with me, and maybe he won't have to go to trial and I won't have to spend all that money, and I can, it'd just be a bummer, like I said, that I need to, yeah, whatever. I still need a couple grand, so I'm going to try to get it before tomorrow. So we'll see. Something could pop. Like I said, I re-up all my postings, but I didn't get any hits, which makes me believe that they're just putting the kibosh on me. You know what I'm saying? They're not allowing it to be seen, because I get a bunch of I'll apologize, Aaron. That sucks, man. We'll go get a homestead, man. Maybe this is a blessing. Get off the freaking grid. Take what you got, cash in, and go, man. Go now. Seriously, you could live a good life. Imagine owning everything, at first. Not like that. You might have a land payment, but everything you do is yours. So that's what's a blessing about having your own space like that, though, And there are places, this isn't the only place you can live like that. Look into it. There are places where people can live off the grid and, become their own power company. Every property I have has power touching the property. I just don't hook up to it, So I don't want to be on the grid. Oh my God, let me go get a piece of pizza. I got a piece of pizza. Remember, I got some pizza yesterday from the store. Let me go get it. Where is that? Where's the pizza? Oh, yeah. Well, that's got a lot of barbecue sauce on that one. Lots of barbecue sauce. Oh boy. Barbecue sauce. Get a napkin here. That's a barbecue pizza. And jalapenos on there too. But anyways, now it's time to go. For everybody, I don't see how, unless people just love the city, I don't know how people live in a city anymore. It's like fun to visit, but not, not for too long. I can get out of the city when I go to the city. I don't like it. Got the jalapenos on there. It's not puppy time yet, guys. What's this email say? Nothing. And that's got a lot of barbecue sauce on it. It's dripping sauce. Sorry about it. I ain't trying to have many paper sub members, but don't have abundance, so. I'll sell something. If not, then No, I will. All right, something sold. Even if I have to give it away, which I think half this stuff at half price, I'm already giving it away, but that's okay. I'll get that Ford sold. I'll work on that Ford and get it fixed. I'll get it fixed. I think it's just a ground is all it is. Ground on the solenoid. Whatever that Ford part is, they're all this. Those Fords are notorious for that. So whatever that capacitor is, the flux capacitor, right? No, it's not a time machine, man. No. Bing. Somebody comment? Oh, hold on. Yeah, I didn't really eat jalapenos growing up. I made some, but I just didn't. So now I love them. Dang, no begging. No beg. No beg. Don't look at me. I'm eating. I'll make you go outside if you beg. Nothing worse than a begging dog. Man, that thing's leaking barbecue sauce. Look at that. But hey, you know, it'd be awesome getting over this hump. Finding something about my kids. Anything. Anything. At this point, I'd like to know something. So, freaking rights, man. I'm happy that I can finally start to move somewhere in this case, you know. And it's going to go quick now because, you know, John knows what he's doing. I'm sure he's going to stick it to him. I know he will. That's why I hired him to represent my son. He's a long way away from this county, so this county isn't going to affect his, you know. And again, I don't think he'd take the case if he didn't think he can win and beat the case. I don't want to get overconfident, but won't that be nice to know something? Something? Anything? Something? Or actually something get done? Something? Anything? I didn't even get my freaking. We'll see what happens. We'll see. But again, John's from not this county. He's from Lane, not Lake. So. Never got any of that. So already did one visit with John. I already knew more. I've sat with John for 30 minutes now, maybe 40. And I already know more about the case than I've learned in the last 14 months, so to speak, about legally, some of the things that, so. But you get what you pay for. But it'll be so nice to get over this hump, though. It really will. Move forward in my life a little bit. I'll put my life on hold for 11 months, 12 months, almost a year last time when Elijah got in trouble over this case. I had to move from the farm over his old lady's house. Ripped my whole life upside down out here. That was like 5 years ago. Same case. Same case. I've been working on this case for 5, 6 years. What a haul, man. What a grind. Oh. Cool. Well, that's not in this case. Like I said, I've gone this long. I have to pay the attorney now. No more of that. I have to pay. I still need to come up with $2,000 to give this person what they need because they're going to find out something. They're going to get it taken care of. I mean, Bush comes to show, they even threw the book at me after I went to trial or something, and and I served 6 months until I need to move forward in my life. I need to move forward. I have a life here. I've been putting myself out, for my son here for about 5, almost 6 years. I need to move forward. No, Elijah didn't use credit. No, he's a cash guy like his dad. He has all his savings and precious metals and works for cash, or tries to work off the books as much as he can. That's kind of some of the issues they were, when he went over there, that he'd already done all his probation. They just, because he worked self-employed, they're like, well, we need to be able to track more of your job, and we think it'd be better if you just went. He's like, look, I make more money in a week than I'm going to work all month doing what I do, and because I do it off the books, you guys say that it isn't a job. Yes, it is. I can make appointments. So he showed him that he goes and he does this car tuning stuff, and he's good at what he does. So he doesn't normally use any kind of credit or anything like that. It's not his. Apple don't fall far from the tree. No, I haven't had a credit card in 20 years or something. I know. Oh, guys, my lungs. I'm gonna take a pull off my my medicinal transfer technician here. Hold on. No, I don't have any of his stuff. Nope, I don't have anything of his. Not like that. almost time, boys. I think it's about 6:30, about that 6:30 or so. Oh, yeah, 6:23. Nice. Oh, what do we got there? What do we got there? What do we got there? Excuse me. That'll clear it up. Mm. Yeah, this whole chat thing is completely different, man. This is a bummer. I freaking don't like this. Don't like this anymore. What was that all about? Let's try this again. There we go. Well, you know, something on TikTok. I don't do TikTok anymore. I don't post content over there. Silly people. I've been banned on TikTok. Most of the channels up, but same thing with Truth Viral Television here on YouTube and America Ever After. Those channels are locked. Locked. Can't get in them. Locked it out. They won't let me in. Oh. All right, moving on here. So what's your guys' preparedness plan? What are you doing for what if they what if they arrest Donald Trump for because he's on the list and they put in Kamala Allah Akbar or something? Are you ready for Kamala Allah Akbar to be the pretendant again? The purple people eater, the commander in chief, or whatever that silly madness was all about. Silly madness. We gotta put Tupac in. Oh, Tupac's gonna be the president now, huh? Maybe it'd be Michael Jackson to be his vice president or something. They'll bring him back. There'll be a 3D printed holographic presidents. Your president is now a robot. Your president is R2D2, RC3PO. It's golden robot. Are you ready for a robot president? Maybe something happened to Trump and Elon will come back and upload him to the Starlink and make him a robot and he'll be pretended cyborg. Luke, I am your father. Something like that. I don't know. So I think the old man will be the last pretendant of this corporation. So I don't think we'll see another president. I think he's the last. So I think they'll just keep patching him up like Jim Plunkett that paid for the Raiders. If you know who Jim Plunkett, he was a Raider back in the 80s, and he was the quarterback. But they just kept patching him back together. So maybe that's what they'll do, and they'll cyborg him. He could be a cyborg, and we'll have a cyborg president. He'll be part Apple, part iPhone, or well, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or Android, because those are the same thing, right? My bad. He'd be part Android, part iPhone, part Apple. He'd take a bite of the apple, you know. He'd be like, "Oh, good genes, good genes, good genes, right?" You get all that, whatever. I love China. You know, he can do all his old, they can upload all his old stuff that he did. Bring back President 4 plus 5 is 9, 4 plus 7 is 11, President 9/11. Bring him back to life. Remember? Back to life, back to reality. Oh, that was stupid. Oh, that was gay. Happy, you know, fun, like a cigarette, you know, what do they call that? In Europe, they call it a fag, right? Why do they call cigarettes that? Such a dialect they have. Well, we've got such slang now, right? So, you better cover your tracks, man. All right, we're losing it. Maybe we better shut her down. Well, we only got 3 people in here, 4 people. Okay, looks like we're losing everybody. We're losing everybody. People want to be lulled. They want kitty videos and some fluffy, some rainbow Christian, you know, lull to some God loves everybody. Cool. No, this channel is, I can't hardly see that. Like I said, they sock everybody out, and then they I can't even see the chat half the time. Now this whole thing's changed for me. There's no more live. It's like top, and I don't like I said, I don't even have the ability to put something on the screen anymore. I was doing that before, but they got it all different. See, I don't know what's going on here. Lighting. Relight on. What is lighting? Lighting. Relight. Does that look any different? No. That doesn't do anything. Here, I'm messing with some of this stuff over here. You guys can't see it in some of this, but there's no... Can't add a background anymore. HD live video. Can't do that. Flip, mute, retouch. What's retouch? Retouch on. Retouch. I don't think it look any different. So, I don't know. They changed it up on me. So... Huh. The old Freedom City. There you go. Cool. Have a plan. You know what I'm saying? Have a plan, because you're going to have a plan to get some kind of dirt on top of your head, like 6 feet under, if you will, and not, you know, like dead to the world, but hailstones. Hailstones, the weight of a talent. You know, that's almost 130 pounds. That's a... was it Bob? Which Bob was that? B.O.B. Bob? Not Bob the Rapper. Bob the Rapper. Continue to rap something. So let me ask you this. If I don't know, you know, if you guys have what your preparedness, you know, mindset is, but how many days you think you can make it? How many weeks do you make it? How many months could you make it right now? If we got hit by a solar, you know, mass eruption, right now the axial seamount off Juan de Fuca off the west coast is erupting. It's already in, you know, a slight eruption phase, and they're saying now that eruption is imminent. Nobody's talking about this right now on the west coast. Well, they just had that Alaskan, and they've had earthquakes there before, but they've been tracking this, you know, this underwater volcano, like I told you, like Honga Tonga went off. So the last time this thing went it didn't shoot water up in the air like Honga Tonga. It wasn't a submarine type volcano. It actually, the sea floor dropped like 3 feet. And, and that sent a tsunami inland. And so they're saying this thing is out, it's going to erupt now. They've got underwater footage of this thing, and it just keeps going more and more and more. And if you look, they've got Rainier that just keeps going, having more and more and more. This whole West Coast is getting very unstable. And sooner or later, one of these is going to pop off. So it could do that. It could shoot a plume of ash into the sun, and then, that could take the grid down. We go into what is called a nuclear winter. So are you hardened for cold? Do you have a way to heat? How could you heat your house right now if there's no electric? How many ways do you have to heat your house? Put in the chat right now. How many ways could you heat your house? How many ways could you heat your house right now? Are you electric only? Are you, if you want to see the best earthquake forecaster on the internet, it would be Dutch Sense. He's been doing earthquake forecasting longer than anybody on this platform. 3 ways, cool, outstanding. Good, because most people don't have a second. I'm saying 2. Most people just have 1. So 3 is better than 2, obviously. Excellent. So, that's not that hard too. You could buy those things don't last long, but a half a dozen of those little green cans to get a little buddy, and now you could make it through the cold nights if you had to for a couple nights, and until you could figure out maybe to get a bigger tank and a whip or something, let's probably buy that now. You can use those My Buddy heaters indoors. So make sure you got multiple ways to heat, guys. How do you beat the heat? How do you beat the cold? What's the best way to beat the cold? How did they do it before? How did people survive these cycles before? How did they beat the sun? How did they beat the cold? Yep, in the ground. They got under the ground. They went into the geothermal, where the rock holds a 58 to 62 degree core temperature in most places. So it's not going to be cold and frozen down there. The frost line's only going to go so far down when you get into that geothermal portion of this rock, because the way this rock works, we have that heat. We have that magma that's underneath our feet. We have these layers. We have these. So, you're going to want to get under the ground. You want to be under the ground, pull yourself down into the geothermal. Caves might not work in that case, Carl. They might, if they're a deep, deep cave, because you'll get down into, and then you'll get into the geothermal mass, you know what I'm saying? But you need to get into the geothermal mass, and you don't have to get down that far. So, but caves, absolutely, but careful with some caves, because they are, above ground, and they get quite cold, and these caves out here, like even cracking the ground, it's kind of like a cave, it's deep down there, but it's, it still gets cold. It keeps, snow down in there, because it can get down in there for into the summer months sometime almost, But my point is that caves are good, because some of them go down. If the cave goes down, you're good. I'm saying? If it's one of these caves that just kind of meanders through and it doesn't really pitch down, there's no grade. Yeah. So you got to be careful, with caves. But what I'm saying is that is a good option. What you can do, though, is you can find an area, and you don't need that. Like I said, it is what it is. You're gonna have to be there, but find where the geothermal mass areas. There's some places you can't dig into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Florida, you're not going to be digging a shelter in Florida, right? the groundwater's at, it's right there under your feet. So not every place would be conducive to build a place that goes, or to be able to get into the geothermal mass, because that's what you need to get into, is what I'm saying. There's a core temperature of this rock. If you get down deep enough, and it's normally not as deep as you would think, it's below the frost line, and it gets below into that core stable, because it's below the frost line. It keeps that core temperature. So it might be 10 feet in some places, might be 20, might be 6, but that's going to be one way to beat the cold. And they've done this before in past. They've known of these cycles. How do you think people survived all these ice ages on the top of this place when this, people don't think that, people forgot we've had many of ice ages on this rock. You know, we've had, recently in our, 1800s, we've had the Dalton and the modern minimums, remember? And those were just in the, that's in the 1800s. We were in a mini ice age. People think ice age, they think that's like, oh, Walt Disney, with the, the woolly mammoth and the chipmunk, chasing little acorns around. They watch too much Disney television. We've been in ice age, more, like I said, in the 1700s, we were in an ice age. We've had, again, the Dalton, the Maunder, the Spore, the Oort, the Wolf. We've had many, grand solar grand minima. These last ones were just mini. We've had full on. Actually, this rock is generally a frozen rock about 98% of the time. You know what I'm saying? About 98% of the time. We're not a warm rock. We don't live generally. This rock is normally much cooler than it is warmer. We only have very brief moments of warming throughout our whole, I've shown on the channels on, and done videos on the past. I've had 400,000 years of, they've got the ice core data that you can go through, all that gold, standard, all that. You've got all that strata, with the paleoclimatology records, with all these compression events and these layers. As I'm saying, there's been so much, evidence left behind, what I'm saying? And, there's people who have survived this. We wouldn't even be here, brothers, sisters, if it wasn't for people who are smart and got way ahead of these things. It's better to be 5 years too early than 5 seconds too late, and you can be prepared as all get out too. Remember, I'm sure there's people in Texas in this flood zone, just like there were people in, massive amount of people in North Carolina that got flooded out, got out of the system prior to that whole over, moved over there and checked out. We're living in the Ozarks up there in the mountains and, in the hills, and ended up, they could be prepared as hell, but they were on the side of a mountain. They still got flooded out. So you could be prepared and still just everything could wash away or anything like that could happen too. But I'd rather at least die trying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh no, this is what is happening. Pain is our magnetosphere. I'm trying to tell everybody what's happening. They're not telling anybody. I'm telling you what's going on with the weather. It is the magnetosphere. It's Honga Tonga and the magnetosphere. There's two major things that are happening on this rock right now. One, we're in an extinction event. So if you didn't know that, look up 6th extinction event right now. You'll be able to, it's not being hidden. That started at the beginning of the New Age when we came into the 12,000 years, cycle. 6,000 years ago, we flooded this rock, the Noah event, right? So that you can, this is all stuff that's available. People just take the time if they have the time. I know it's hard to come by, but and look through these past events, and you could be able to definitely tell that we have had a weakened we used to have a magnetic pole. We don't have a pole. We don't have poles. We have polarity, magnetic polarity. There's no such thing as a pole or a North Pole. Like ho-ho, candy cane. There, listen here, sucker. You can take your little pointed little lollipop thing you got there and poke yourself right on it here. We have a magnetic pole. They say we have a physical pole, but pole is polarity that deals with magnetism. Magnetism is what keeps your compass pointed to the north. There's a reason why the compass points to the north. That's called magnetic polarity. So all this talk of we're having a pole shift, we're not having a pole shift. A pole shift is when the compass would be pointed to the south. It'd be turned all the way to the south. That happens every 11 years on the sun. The magnetic polarity of the sun reverses. The sun doesn't turn. The magnetism turns. The magnetism flips. Like there's magnetic polarity on sunspots. Beta, gamma, alpha, there's, so the magnetism on this rock used to change if you every 360,000 years, like a clock, like a circle, 360 degrees. our magnetic polarity, that means your compass would be pointed to the south, and it happened every 360,000 years. Again, you can find this through the paleo climatology records, all that strata, the isotope data, and all the pottery. I mean, this is not undiscovered information, you know. I wouldn't have banned you for that, but I'm not sure we got banned for that. So I didn't ban you. I don't know anybody would say that's not a good way to die. So, so okay. Anyways, this is we're right now in the middle of what is called a magnetic excursion. You know what I'm saying? A magnetic excursion, right? So that used to happen again and go to a magnetic pole shift. And it means the magnetic polarity is shifting. Once again, if we have magnetic poles, we don't have one, we have four. We have four. Because we have two in the north, southern. That's why the toilet flushes this way in one portion of the hemisphere. I don't do ball camp or flat camp, so let's not talk about shapes in here. But you notice they have a reverse. They don't spin in the same direction because of the magnetism. So once again, the magnetism changes, on the sun, and it happens every 11 years, every 22. I mean, the compass would be pointed to the south on the moon every 22 years. If you think we went to the moon, did we land on a light? But anyways, so this hasn't happened in over 780,000 years. Is the last time that we've had a true magnetic pole shift. We haven't had that. We're well overdue. We have had many magnetic excursions where it's about ready to go down and do a polarity shift, but it goes back to where it was. That's very common. That actually ping pongs back and forth just like that more often than it has. And so we're overdue. The last time that it changed, where it made a full reversal, the magnetism on this rock on the polarity was between 40 to 45 degrees. 40 to 45 degrees. 40 to 45. It happened, and I believe it happened between probably the 44 to 45. We're already in that zone right now. If you watch Gene at Mavstar, you got to pay to get the pole position now, but whatever. The Duke, he's been doing it for 4, 5, 6 years. Nobody, I've sent the guy money, but he's an observatory. He's a scientist. He's gone to college. And I don't care about college degrees, but he's been to school. He's a scientist. And, he's not some kook like Ben Davison, who's not a kook. He's a smart guy, but he's Earth Tilt Ball Camp. Come on, universe. Shut up, Ben Davison. What were you observing with your, like I said, I asked for a donation if somebody could help me with my, whatever for the ministry. And then this legal thing, that dude got like $20,000 to make some observatory, the mobile observatory. What did he observe? What was he observing when he was traveling? So he's pretty good at, whatever. He writes books or whatever, and whatever. He's got his, remember, Silver Rock Ranch was here before Observer Ranch was ever created. We were up and running doing Silver Rock Ranch as a homestead, and now you can go pay for a bench at his place or like a park or he's just about the dollars, guys. So whatever. It is what it is. I'm not, Ben can do his thing. I watch his stuff every day. I still watch it. He still puts out good. It's like Alex Jones. You got to filter out the good with the bad, brothers and sisters. That's what the sun's doing right now. The sun's emitting good energy and bad energy. And the reason why it's affecting everything is this magnetosphere, back to what I'm saying. So we would have 4 poles because we'd have 2, which tugs the one towards the other, in between the two. Like right now, the magnetism was strongest over what we call the North Pole. But since 1859, it started going the opposite direction because of the Carrington event, where we had an X flare that hit this rock, the magnetosphere, where our field strength was 100%. So we had an X 2030 flare. It hit the solar protection from the sun. Our magnetosphere sphere, which is like a magnet. It protects us. The sun has a heliosphere. We have the magnetosphere between, not two magnets sticking together, but if you flipped them around, they wouldn't stick together. That's that protection. So the magnetosphere, because sun melts the magnetosphere, shrinks. Heat normally makes something expand, right? But heat also makes something negate when it comes to the magnetosphere. It makes it shrink. That's why the sun is white and not yellow or orange like it was 36 years ago, 3 solar cycles at 11, to 12-year solar cycles. It was much more orange. Now it's bright white, hot. It, open, sun tomato plants burn. It's not the same sun because our magnetosphere, our whole atmosphere has shrunk. So we are now closer to the sun. We don't have as much particulate in our atmosphere. If you took a torch and you lit a torch and ever cut a torch with like a gas torch, there's going to be all that carbon. That's going to make that flame very orange. Okay. Once again, magnetism makes heat. Heat makes magnetism go away. Turn that torch up. The hotter that torch, the less particulate. Going to go from orange to yellow-orange to yellow-white to white, and eventually you turn it up all the way, it's going to turn blue when there's no impurities, as pure as it gets, blue. So is the sun going to turn blue next? I didn't say that. Maybe the old Hopi knew something, the one that talked about the ant people getting under the ground like this psycho was talking about, red kachina, blue kachina, brothers, sisters. Maybe that's what that Georgia Guidestones had to do something with that, where the moon's in the same place every 18 years, right? They don't want you to know any of this astronomy. I didn't say astrology, and they used to be interlinked, but I said astronomy, where these things are located at a certain time and place, not in space balls. Knock it off. So no such thing as space. But ant didn't mean that they were ants, though. Okay, EMS. So, they weren't ants. There was no lizard people, no shapeshifter. That's not what they were. They were ants because they dug into the ground like a colony of ants digs a, people don't get that. Then they turn, and I'm just saying the ant people is what they call them. Think what an ant does. It burrows in, guys. You got to start thinking more like an animal and have an animal instinct if you're going to want to make it for what is to come. It's not the end of the world. You get down below the frost line, everybody else is dead. You're out freaking picking up whatever that's left, Yeah, so that, like I said, right. Subterranean. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that, Art of Pain. I mean, this we need to relate to this now, guys. This is the time we need to relate these people, not thinking about, oh my God, shapeshifters, the lizard's queen, the queen's a lizard, and all this space. Guys, they're already doing it. Look at these elite, look at these rich, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill in his Hawaii, but now, these people have already done this. The government, I told you, since the 1800s has been taking the U.S. tax dollar and boring with these hogs. They called them hogs. They're hogs because what they do is they take all that dirt. They don't need to tunnel any of that out of there. It takes and it glasses that. That's why I call them Stinky Glasshole, Mr. Muskrat, Mr. Glasshole, because it literally takes and it fuses all that debris that's in front of it, and it turns that into a watertight glass ring. And they've got these all over, and they're boring machines. And that's boring. I keep saying that to you. I don't know if you guys know it. They've been doing that since 81. For sure, I know of it. So this ain't new news. This has been happening, and they've been getting ready for the solar cycle because as of now, since 1900, when I said in 1859 we got hit by a solar X flare, it started the migration of the magnetics in a westerly direction, away from the direction it's headed now. And in 1900, it turned around. Our field strength of the magnetosphere means field strength was at 100% in the 1900s. The sun was yellow, right? No, it was orange in the 1900s. Orange, okay? Not even yellow. They would have said the sun was orange. As somebody who's older, I do this by asking people, hey, if you were a kid and you were in school and they gave you that piece of paper that had the house and the tree and the bird and the sun up there, what color crown would you use? They give you the 16 color crown box. What color would you use to draw the sun? And I can tell how old somebody is by what color they tell me the sun would be when they were a kid. And so if you asked a kid today, they would probably not even know that there's such thing as an orange sun. Okay. And I have to demonstrate this, guys. Remember, I've drawn it up there. I've showed you guys. I have to draw the sun orange. When I demonstrate, when I talk about astronomy, right, and I draw the sun, I have to make the sun orange. Because if I draw and I don't put sun there, okay, and I draw it circle like it's white now, it's a white sun, it only gets orange when it gets close to the horizon, the horizon, when it gets towards the horizon. Down here, it gets orange because of the debris closer down. But when it's up that's like the summer sun. The sun used to get white like that, but not until, the dog days of summer, June, July, and then it'd lose its color, go back to that orange again. Remember, in the fall and in the spring, that's how I've grown food, grown cannabis. You use a 500 watt, then 1,000 milliwatt. Look, okay. Anyways, if I drew that as a circle, see how that's like, that doesn't look like that number 3, but if that was a whole circle and I said that's the sun, your brain wouldn't register it. I could sit there and teach you all day long, and your brain is not going to register that it's the sun. I could put SUN in a white circle, and your mind will not get it that it's the sun, though, just so you know. I didn't mean to get distracted on that, but just so you know, I'm not distracted. I'm just trying to tell you that it's crazy, because I've taught on this before. It's crazy how our mind, I'm an artist. I know that sometimes you have to over exaggerate something to make, you maybe put a shadow there, doesn't even end, and it doesn't, but that's what it'll all come together. That's how it works. So that's what I'm saying. But the sun now, again, brothers and sisters, it's white because our atmosphere has shrunk. So if you take a magnet and you throw it into a fire and you let the fire burn out, it's not going to be a magnet anymore. It negates, it degrades, it loses its magnetism. So as our solar cycle in the last 3 solar cycles, 36 years, has less solar energy has come out. Remember, I said in 1859, the sun shot a massive X flare. It hit our magnetosphere in 1900. The pole, remember the polarity, the magnetism, it was going for 1859 to the west. In 1900, it turned back around, started going exactly where it came from, and it started migrating over near to Siberia in Russia, right? So it's moving, and it's been moving in that same westerly direction. Now, there was a time, even Gene at Mapstar Observatory showed this, but that's what his studies have shown, is that before there's a reverse, he does this with 2 magnetism. He's a scientist, and he's taken a compass and outside, he's done this in many ways to show this is how this magnetism works. Every time it hits that 40 to 40 degree mark, it rights itself, but it goes super fast. But if you slow down, and I'm not sure if he ever went and looked at it, but before that magnetism, because if he takes 2 magnets, they'll right themselves. You know how, if you take 2 magnets, brothers, sisters, and they push together, let me make this a little more crude for you, what I'm saying, to show you why what am I talking about, this 40 degree mark, okay? If I take 2 magnets and I stick them together, right? And they stick together, I turn them together, and then they don't push together. But now if I take one and I reverse it and I push it towards it, there's a certain amount where it will go and it'll right itself, right? It'll come back around and it'll turn itself over. That's at that 40 degree mark. You could do this with 2 magnets on a string to understand where is it that it rights itself. See, okay, so you understand what I'm saying. There's that other side of the polarity where it pushes and it's like whoa, and then sticks back together. That's at the 40 degree mark. That's why I'm trying to show you. That's why it's kind of important when we think about this. We're in this magnetic excursion as it moves within this 40 degree mark. The last time, guys, it used to happen every 300 to 360,000 years, like a clock. I mean, at every single layer, boom, 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 right? You could see it in this is called like the strata, or the levels of like an ice cream sandwich, brothers and sisters. We have all these events, and they pancake on top of each other throughout history. If you dig down through theirs, and they tell all the different time and what was going on. It's kind of neat out here, because I've digged down 28 feet down where I'm at, and there's some big events that happen here. You can tell something was going on in this valley. I mean, there was some, because there's rock, and it looks different. I've shown it on the live stream, but through these and they have ice core data where they can go into the ice core samples and look a lot of the same particulate, shows a lot of the same thing too, such as finding magnetism, like the isotope data in clay pottery and things like this. Back in history, they know because it captures it, like at the rift zones, like we came over the mid-Atlantic ridge, where that was a pretty big point in history. Well, at that mid-Atlantic ridge, as it's shooting out magma, okay, it's going to capture the magnetism at that time. Make sense? It's going to capture the magnetism because it's a live flowing lava flow at a rift zone, and as that keeps coming out, it's like collecting data. It's counting that magnetism. It keeps, okay, does that make sense? That isotope, that magnet, that the data that's showing the magnetism at that time. Well, how do they find the magnetism in pottery? Well, it leaves that isotope data. Okay, so they've been able to study this, guys. People, what do you mean a pole shift? You guys, this has been happening since the 1800s. I'm not talking about new news. You just may never heard about it. Your grandparents had heard of this. Our parents had heard of this. This is something that has been around, and now actually we're reaching that peak moment, guys, and they're not talking about this. Not only is we're reaching this polarity point, but our magnetosphere is collapsing. It's collapsing. It's weakening. They don't want to tell any brothers, sisters. This is what's going on. You understand? People don't want to talk about it. There's two major events that are happening right now. The weakening of the magnetosphere, which is happening since the 1800s, and the fact that Honga Tonga, a submarine volcano, shot up, 14% of moisture from the oceans, that literally you could go see the satellite data and you could see the ocean blow past the satellites. That's a massive event. Think about that. Thanks for coming in. Elsa, I lost my dad when he was 16. You have a dad and you have a father. Please try to remember, and I know this is not a time to be like trying to you with words, but we got to remember that father took him. His day was today, not yesterday. Father didn't want him 5 years from now. Father said he's going today, and that was already written from the foundation of the world, Elsa. Remember that. Try to keep your mind around that. His day of death was already written. He couldn't have changed that, right? So it's a beautiful thing. This world is getting out of control, and I'm so happy your father doesn't have to see the changes that we're about to go through. And I know that I miss my dad a lot. He's a good guy. I could use his advice every once in a while. He didn't have it all right, but he surely was, it's like I miss my son right now because he's smart, and we need that other. So you'll, yeah. No, my dad died when he was 37 years old. So my dad was very young too. I don't know how old your dad was, but my dad was in his 30s. He didn't even make it to 40 years old. So I've lived longer, I think, now than my dad was even alive, or right around there. I'm reaching that really critical point in my life where 52, 73, 72, 50, there's this, by the numbers game. So they say the good die young is a thing. So I don't know what young you consider young, but I know that I'm blessed that I got, 37 years of life. And then, so my dad died when I was 16. So it's been about 37 years ago that he died. So, but it's a blessing to leave this flesh. We are to celebrate. Yeah, we don't count births. Please don't do births because then you get older. don't get older. Stop doing birth dates. Even Elon Sticky Muskrat told you that. But you guys, I think it's about puppy time. Oh, it is. It's puppy time. Look at that, like a freaking clock right at 7 o'clock. I don't like a freaking puppy. Okay, I try not to keep them on the schedule, but then they're both sleeping. So maybe we can go another few minutes. But Elsa, remember what it tells. Yeah, see, I can't. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my. So how else, if you don't mind me asking, how old was your dad? And try to remember, we're not to mourn birth, if anything, or death. We're supposed to celebrate, and we're not supposed to celebrate 51. Okay, cool. I hear you. So that's how old I am. So this day, and I'm a lot older than that. I don't want to fool you. I'm eternal. I don't ever end. So age is irrelevant, and days on this rock are just temporary. So we're all eternal, but spiritually, I know, but that's, I'm sure he did. And Father took him and put him in a good place right now. I'm sure much better than this place. So you guys stop it. I'm 51 years old now. Knock it off. I got to make it to the end of this year to die at 52, since my dad was born in 1952, died at 37, and I was born in 73. So that means I get to die at 52. So don't try to push me out of here too early. Don't you want me to be here a little bit longer? I just only going to make it just a little bit longer. I'm almost there, guys. Don't rush me out of here, please. So, no, anyways, by the number. Remember, my day of death is already written. Try to hold on to that, Elsa. You too with your sister. Our days, is it not? Father already wrote our day of death. It doesn't matter. You can't change that day that's already written. And, oh no, I don't want to be here that long, Elsa. I don't want to. But I maybe if Father wills, I will. If he does, he'll give me he will give. I get through this next little hump here. You know what I'm saying? And I've appreciated life, because my dad did die at 37, and I was 16. I was pretty young. I mean, I was a grown adult. I joined the military at 17, and off I went. But Father will lift me, and I know that once I get through this kind of a really trying time for me, I'll be able to spring out of this. I will be born anew. And Father will always, he does. He pushes me for long periods, long periods. And then he brings me out of my brothers and sisters and mom and cousins and stuff are always like, you always get yourself in the craziest predicaments, man. It's like everything around you is collapsing. Your whole world is just freaking disintegrating around you. And you say you got it under control and the whole thing. And then we think the whole thing's going to collapse on you, and then you just come out smelling like a rose every time. How do you do that? It's not me. I tried to tell him that long ago, because I would leave this, I'm saying, place and space and time and do all these, kind of like what's going on, exactly what's going on in my life right now, all this chaos. And not every time do I come out smelling like a rose, but 99 point times, I'm saying the worst come, but he doesn't feel like that. Like I said, he pulls me through, and even some of those times they have their own little interconnected that leads me to the next. It's quiet, but I know, like in this situation, so try to remember that too, because that's what he's doing with your life right now, with my life right now, with our lives right now. It's all this chaos. It's all this chaos, it's all this, but it does lead to a place where maybe not come out smelling like a rose, but that's the Father always saves best for last. If I know, if the way Father, he makes you work for it, that's why you put money into a savings account. You put money into a savings account that is put up for later. You take all your savings out now and spend it, you're not going to have anything for later. So I want you to think of, that's what your dad is now being given the gift. His savings is there and it's sealed, and he's going to get to be with Father at the same time. Also, that you go lay down in this dirt, because if you pass, with your dad, you're not going to go, he's not in the sky. Your dad is not suffering right now. He's not hurting. He's not in hell. He's not in heaven. You know that. I'm sure you're wise enough in the word to know he's not suffering for sure. So he hasn't gone to hell yet, because hell's not what people think. Once judgment brings on a whole gnashing of teeth, but you would be there with him, because we're all going to get judged at one time, and we're going to all see what we all did. You're not going to be able to keep any secrets at the seventh trumpet. No more. They said time is no more. He's going to reveal all these. He'll pour out a just measure on all of us. So think about the blessing. And I don't know, again, how he passed. And at 51, that's young. But look at our diets. You know, that's always I bless. I feel like, look, I got hit in the face with a grenade. I had a stroke out here, and I'm a healthy dude, and I'm still here standing. But it's only Father that gets me. And told you, I've already told you that in here. It's not me. So I don't want you to disclose any, whatever happened. That's your own business. But that's a beautiful thing. Um, I know you probably need him because you need his advice, and just I don't want to overdo it, but just you're gonna miss the smell of him. You're gonna miss all the little things that made him dad. He was a good dad, awesome. But I don't want to like this to end until Father's ready. But I can tell you for sure, Elsa, that it's not going to get easier. It's not going to get, none of this is going to get easier. So he took your dad from a place right now that if I left this place, it wouldn't. I hope your dad was ready for that too. I don't know, and you don't have to disclose all these things with me, but I hope he was ready to go. Did he know it was coming? I hope he did, and I hope he was ready because he's been given a blessing. This meat suit is a burden. It's nice to be here. Okay, cool. Well, I've had that happen too, but you still love him. See, I've tried to tell people that nobody will listen to me, Elsa. Nobody listen to me. I say, man, you could beat the snot out of your kids and they'll still love you. They don't care. They're kids. They're like that. They don't, and I'm not saying beat your kids or anything like that, but I've tried to tell that people like, no way. I'm like, you don't understand how kids are. They're like, you can do horrible things to a child and their child will still love you. That's your dad. That's your mom. That's your right. They don't really know much better. This is how it works. Okay. They just kind of, so, um, but either way, um, I don't know if he ever came out of that because even now my dad didn't beat me and he whooped the piss out of me. I mean, he used corporal punishment against me and I had marks on my body and I deserved every mark I got, but it wasn't a beating. Like I did got beat from my stepdad and got beat on the street. That's a different kind of beating. So he just gave me the punishment that I deserved. But so there's a difference too. So I don't know, again, my stepdad who did that eventually, came out of it and admitted it, and said he was wrong and actually had gotten along with my brother, older brother and younger brother. I didn't really talk to him at all, but eventually I, friended him. I don't even know if he's here anymore. I think he might have passed. But he got right. He got right, and he knew what he did to me and my brothers was wrong. And his, and my younger brother, that's not my, I don't do have, but and my sister, and but he came out of that, and he wasn't that man later. I mean, he beat my mom and stuff, but there was a lot of, like I said, just drugs and horrible things, and he was in the military, and um, yeah, it was just a really. But so there's a difference between being beat and discipline, and hopefully maybe that, because see, I try to tell people that, people have a love for their family members that, you can't turn off love. Sometimes it just doesn't turn off like a light switch. It's remember in a relationship, it's not how much you love somebody, it's how much you can stand somebody. But when they're your parents, that's different. The love that you have for your parents, especially, you know, um, even if they don't do the nicest things to you, you still have to be under the roof if they're like that. And you just become, I'd say children, I don't mean to be like that, but children are very resilient. They do adapt to things, and people forget about children are like a very unbiased. They just, so I like children are like freaking pieces of clay that can be shaped. So that's why I like when people hurt kids. They can be shaped, it's still, but I mean, you're turning that as something that's part of who they are, and they can get over, and people do things to people and make mistakes and then come out of her. And it's almost like if you have something happen to you horrible and you can't get over it, you're going to stumble over that the rest of your life. You're going to make that your whole life. I see people do things with abuse, and they'll pull that, and maybe they'll use that as an excuse on why they do that to their kids. You know what I'm saying? So I got, by my dad. He never abused me, and one time he knocked me out, and I still don't think that was abuse. I know I was being really cocky. That's all I can remember. I was just being a little cocky with him, and shouldn't have been like that. and but it didn't take much. I mean, he was a big guy. He had a big hand, and so but I needed it. It knocked me down a peg. I don't know what I was on, some run or something. I don't know what I was doing. I get like that or whatever. I just didn't care. Long I knew that as long as I didn't get in trouble outside of school and I passed my classes and cleaned my room, I could do whatever I wanted to do. I could be as stupid as lame brain, spacey, crazy. I could cost my dad so much money. Every time I came out of a cast, I was in another cast. I broke another bone. My brothers never, they did almost not the same things that I did, but a lot of the similar things, rode motorcycles, skateboard, basketball. They never broke any bones or never had any stitches. I had all their stitches and all their broken bones combined, because that's just the way I was growing up. So um, try to remember that, hold on to the memories that we have. Our parents aren't perfect, they make mistakes. And hopefully that if, in your situation, again, you don't have to give the whole situation up, Elsa, but, you know, I know that my stepdad, eventually I ended up friending him on Facebook, and I didn't need to hold on to it. It's like, whatever. This is when I was young. I was I wasn't even a teenager. I was 8 years old. My dad came and stole us got us out of that, whatever situation where it's pretty bad. But, well, Clayton, that stuff's been on the ground for a while. But remember, the third temple of Jerusalem is a third. It's a spiritual temple. So they'll build the physical. Try to remember that. They'll do all the physical on this rock. So, Elsa, listen, and you too, EMS, because if that was just last year, we're supposed to celebrate death and not mourn. So don't mourn, or you're not listening. Please go to the book of read tonight. After you get off here tonight, please. I'm going to take a break here. Hold on to feed these animals. I want you to do this right now, okay? If you can. Elsa, please, and you too, EMS, go to the book of Ecclesiastics and read 7 and 1 for me, okay? Read the book of Ecclesiastics 7 and 1. If you don't have it, you can look it up on, there's Bible Hub, or I'm sure you've got text, but just do it. Look it up online. Don't try to look through it, so you can have it there, and and you can look through it a little bit. Remember, there's eSword, there's apps if you're using these apps I told you, but look up the book of Ecclesiastics 7 and 1, and it'll tell you what we're supposed to do when somebody passes. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to give you up the goods. We're supposed to celebrate their life and remember the good times, and remember that, hey, they don't have to be here anymore. 7 and 1, Ecclesiastes 7 and 1. Read that, because it tells us that, about birth and death, and it tells us, it's kind of a guideline. Remember, we're not any laws of flesh, so we're not even really supposed to celebrate anything, but we're supposed to celebrate when somebody passes. We don't mourn. We're not supposed to mourn. We're not supposed to celebrate birth. Remember, people celebrate birth and mourn death, and the book of Ecclesiastics actually tells us to do the complete opposite. When you read that, you'll go, Pastor was right. We do the complete opposite in this world. They celebrate birth and mourn death. We're not supposed to really, but it's the other way around, brothers and sisters. We are not to celebrate birth, but to celebrate death. So try to remember, fathers, you all, our day of death is written. Nobody is left this rock because Father didn't want him to be here. Nobody's cheating death. Even if somebody takes their own life, that's Father's. And in my opinions, I don't think by reading scripture, and this may hurt somebody, well, I had a son that took their life. Well, we're all sinners, okay? But that's like being a God. Well, you're a veteran. You've been police officer. Well, taking your own life is another thing, what I'm saying? And a death is a death. Sin is a sin. I'm not saying, but to take your own life, he says you have to endure to the end to be saved. Right there. I'm going to put it out there. I don't want to sit there and, put around with you. You have to endure to the end to be saved. So if you take your life, you're not going to be saved. How could you be saved? You have to endure. This is my love. This is the word. This is what he said. If you want to be saved, you have to go through this suffering. So you can't just check out of here early. Your day of death has already been written from the foundation of the world. If you're an elect and you're chosen already, so don't worry about it. It's already, Father, all our days of death are already written. Father created all things. So don't shy from the word. This is when you need it most. When you lose somebody around you, this is when I want you to draw more nigh to Father in the word. Now you have some chance to let him heal you. Every problem you've ever had in your life has always been, the solution has been in that book, but you don't read it enough. Guilty and guilty and guilty. Me too. And I love it. And I have it, but anything that you, and do that too. If you're struggling, just look it up. People have been through this. Look up death in the family, depression. People have taken and chopped this word into just amazing studies. So you can go study what it's like to lose a family member. Look over here and, Matthew, look over there. They'll tell you which passages to read. You have all these tools, so use those too. Okay. There you go. There you go. So so we are to celebrate life, brothers and sisters. When somebody leaves, we celebrate their life that they had here. We celebrate that death by celebrating their life that they had, and we don't mourn. And oh no, we're like, yes, they get to go wait. They don't have to be here anymore and suffer in this flesh and be under these. And if they did horrible things, then sure, hopefully their heart is being rebuked by Father. And they're suffering inside because they knew. Maybe they're not telling you what they did to you, and they knew it was wrong. This whole life, they've been wanting to take their life. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what kind of monkey they got on their back, what kind of voices they got going inside their head. You don't know what people think of you. Only you think of you the way you think of yourself. There ain't another person on this rock that thinks of you the way you. Father knows you more than anybody because he's inside you. But you have this idea of you. So remember that. There's people, they've got, we'll say inner demons, because a demon is not what people think, but we'll use the word for dialect, for conversation's sake. But so try to remember that, guys, too. Like I said, people who do things. Now I know some people get off the deep end and don't care, and their morals are gone, but try to remember, I don't want to go totally and beat this thing like a dead horse here. That's not the right thing to say. I apologize. But this is something that, if he did something to you and hopefully he moved on, then what, I'm glad. If he didn't, if he turned from his ways and it was something he did when he's older, that Father may have still been rebuking his heart, to this day. And now he's not suffering with that anymore. And hell, we all make mistakes. None of us we're all filthy rags. We've all done things that are, a sin. One sin under the Old Testament was death. And now we have salvation. Now we have redemption. Now we have baptism. We have all these repentance, and we have all these things that take a process that we didn't have before. We screwed up one time. That was it. And venial mortal sin, he didn't matter in the Old Testament. So be blessed that your father was born your dad was born during this time, and he was born under salvation, and hopefully he had a relationship with Father, and that's what you should keep your eye focused on now, and know that, like I said, you'll miss him, but this is Father's time. He said, I do all these things after my own counsel, of my own pleasure. You questioning that his was the wrong time to go? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Else I got pretty bad. I came from that same thing. My dad had to came steal us from my mom, who was even absent. We were in there, malnourished, black and blue. We were a mess. Came and stole us in Los Angeles, California, and we outrun the LAPD in a van down the I-5 corridor. I remember that. I don't know how somebody found out, but somehow. I don't know if my mom came home or what, but it was, my dad's timing was perfect. But same thing, just beating the snot out of us. All of us were just really in bad shape, and just because of drugs and just whatever. Just that's what life does. But this happens, and we learn from these things. Like I said, this is the guy that I told you eventually. My brothers too, which was so good to see that both of them. Because he beat the snot out of all of us. I think I took it worse than all of them because just the way I was, but it's okay. I never had any hard feelings. I just didn't really talk to the guy. I'm like, I didn't really make it a big conversation. And they, for years, pushed me. They're like, he wants to talk to you. He knows what he did was wrong. And we talked to him because he's not, come on. You were like 8 years old, dude. We're in our 30s now. He's remember, we have a step brother and a step sister. We don't do that, but he's involved in their life, and and we go do things. And just because you don't do anything, don't mean you can't at least talk to the guy, and he wants to at least have a comment. Why don't you accept his Facebook thing or whatever? It's I don't think it was my 30s. Yeah, wait, it was in my 40s or whatever when he actually, it had been a while, but and they'd been friends with him for more than a decade. But I finally did and talked to him, and like I said, he didn't just outright. So we make mistakes, guys, and we're so blessed now to have salvation, and we all fall short of the word, and Father presses every one of us in a different way. That's why each one of us don't get a different measure, and he won't pour out the same measure on all of us, because we don't all get the same measure on this rock. Some people get to have more or less drama, or more or less money, or more or less, and he gives each one of us when he returns. He said, I will pour out a just measure. So try not to hold on to something like that too. Also for too long, what I'm saying, that something like that happened, because these things actually make people, I think, better people, not better than somebody else, but like, maybe again, like, I don't, maybe this is not the best subject, but it comes up, like a woman being raped, you know, not by my liking, but, you know, I haven't had that many relationships, but more women that I've been with have been raped than not. And I hate that. I hate that that's even a thing. Sometimes it's from their family members, it's been, and sometimes not. But, you know, and then you'll find, and this happens to men. This not like rape is just a woman only thing, but you'll find a woman who that's happened to, and her whole life will be about that for the rest of her life. She can't get over it. It's a hurdle. She can't just see. She keeps tripping up over it, and she won't go around it, like evolution, and she just stumbles over that same thing, and it makes the whole lot, and I it's like somebody almost with addiction, like, dude, I'm like 4,375 days clean. Okay, we got it, you're clean, it's time to move on with your life, and not say, Elsa, this just happened, I'm saying, you know um but try to remember that, because I don't want you to, if you could, you don't want to be holding on to things and bad memories right now, and get you in a bad state of mind where you want to check out of here early, because death makes people, it's like magnetism. Sometimes it attracts that. If you ever notice, sometimes people go in twos and threes. It doesn't just isn't just a one time deal. It's kind of happens in a circle, if you will. So don't get caught up in that if you can. I mean, again, we all make, do things, and but now, no matter what is done, he pours out a just measure, and I can't imagine if he was struggling with something like that, if he'd done that and then admitted whatever in your life, if they'd gotten that far, that he was wrong. Hopefully, Father was rebuking his heart. If you had a conversation with him still to this day and was talking to him, and he said you loved him, and so maybe, hold on one second, guys. Hold on one second. Okay, guys, I apologize. I got to go help Kevin unload that wood stove, guys. He called me. I helped him load it up, and I thought he'd be able to get it off there by him glass for the heat. You're talking about a couple $100, $200-300 for one of those things to replace that glass. So I think he's making the right move by calling me. You don't want to break those pieces of glass. So I appreciate your time, guys. Again, appreciate all your support. Tomorrow is, the day to give this money to the attorney and take this precious metals in, and I'm excited to move forward and just do something in this case. So appreciate you guys being my, like, I feel like you guys have been my walker. I'm just leaning on you guys, dragging on you guys, and you guys are keeping me up. That, and Father too obviously keeps me upright, but you guys have been such a blessing. So again, I came up a couple thousand short, but it's okay. I'll just deal with it. I'll sell something. So if you got an extra Bitcoin or something like that, and you have a way to support, remember, but don't do it unless you have abundance. Okay, please don't make any contributions. Your time and your comments are more valuable. I'm going to get through this day here, and I'm going to get finally something done on this case. I'm excited about that. Like I said, just to find out something and move forward. So you guys have been such an asset to me. I can't imagine these last, 14 months have just been, it's one struggle after another for all of us. So hang in there, Elsa, and I know this is a really trying time when things are fresh, but please, this is celebrate. Try to remember all the things that, he won't have to see, whether it was good or bad or not in the future. Things are going to get a struggle, and his day of death was already written. You're not going to change that. So hold on to Father right now. The word is what you need probably more than anything. So again, use whoever you have you around you with you as your people to be your life, your support, what I'm saying, right now too. And maybe just a good time to pull back and get a little more into the word. Father will show you in the word where whatever it is. That's the beautiful thing about that book. It kind of does it. Not like I said. I mean, you do need to study and read it. If you do what I said, if you go back and study, something like the loss of a family member, you're going to find so many passages. You know what I'm saying? So many passages in there that will help you. So thanks for coming here and leaning on the ministry. It's good to have you here. I always like when you ladies are in here. You too, Carl. Appreciate you. This guy's been here, been supporting me before, from the beginning of TikTok. So several years. What a blessing this ministry is. So again, thanks for your support, guys. Appreciate it. And if I don't come on before the end of the night, we'll see you. Have a pretty busy day tomorrow. I gotta go into town and exchange all these precious metals. And wish I knew somebody could just give me a loan. I mean, I'm gonna get these civil lawsuits filed, but I'll take the civil lawsuits, and I was talking with Kevin of this. You know what I'm saying? Um, if I did get several lawsuits, large lawsuits for the ministry, I'll just give Brother Jim whatever, zeros and ones, whatever he wants on a computer, he can take and distribute the money. But I think I would take the money from this, suits and put it for the ministry in a gold and silver trust. I don't know if does that sound like the right thing to do, guys? Or that could be turned back into, but I don't think I should leave, if I got $25 million, $100 million, you know what I'm saying? Um, about putting it into gold and silver and then putting that into some kind of trust where you have to be able to pull out and you'll make a check and a balance. So somebody just can't be grabbing it out of there. It would be literally a secure trust where that would, instead of just leaving it in zeros and ones, and I'm sure you could put some money into a bank, but don't leave all that money in the bank. Pull that out of a bank and sock that immediately into precious metals for the ministry, and watch it over years just keep growing or keep its value, maintaining its purchase power. So that's the idea, guys, to do with the settlement money. So maybe I'll get the purchase gold again, but it won't be for me, because I actually talked to Kevin about this. I was talking about him earlier. I was like, Kevin, do you realize once I get this ministry down there and the farm down there, we'll have 2 farms going, I won't need to buy silver or gold ever again. You know what I'm saying? I won't need to buy silver or gold ever again. That'd be weird, because I just always just buy a little bit at a time. I just like collecting. It's just not gold, but silver. I like it. I like what's on. Just silver's a neat thing. It's poor man's metal, so it's not like you're, and it's not. Remember, it's the most widely used metal. It's a medicine. They've used it as antimicrobial, bacteria. What's the most pure thing on this rock? Water. And they purify water with silver. Now that is freaking amazing. So silver's just a neat thing. I love its tone, all that, but I'm not like it. I just buy a little bit at a time. But I think that would be you know what I'm saying, is to put it in a trust like that for the ministry. That way it will be held there, and especially if it's a large amount, I think that'd be the better thing to do than sit in some bank, or it could be taken, the lights could go out or all that. So I don't know. I just was throwing it out there. I don't want the money. I want to put it and give it away. Remember, I don't want to own anything anymore. I got dogs. I got you guys. What do I need? Got some clothes, got a hat. I'm ready to go on the road, baby. Come see you guys and hang out with you guys for a minute. So, all right. I love you, brothers, sisters. I got to feed these animals. Have a good night. Whenever you see this, wherever it's at, or side of this rock, north. I do appreciate you being here. in the description if you want to support the ministry, PayPal, Cash App, and there was a Bitcoin Cash App if you know somebody who hit it big on Bitcoin. But if not, time is the only tithe that you have to do here to be a part of this ministry. It's never monetary. I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face, kind of like Smurfette or an Avatar or something. So, all right, love your other sisters, Pastor Revelation, Pastor Apocalypse. Whoa.